We be live. Hello, Durud and Shalom, and Namaste and Hola.
Hola.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Shalom.
Yes. Look at this guy's full house. So busy here. I love it. So much to say. Okay, guys, look at us. Our team is expanding. We have to figure out. We're gonna have to do another panel because there's more people who are going to be on our panel, but they're not going to fit here. So we're going to do we're going to do a panel later at night, and we're going to do another earlier panel with Guy and other, Israel and Europe minded people in earlier, so that we have like 3 different panels throughout the day.
That's a high quality
yes.
problem to have.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And guys, Monkey is not here. So Monkey will be here again, guys, at some point. He's dealing with some local stuff. He says hi. He says he hasn't abandoned us, and he will come back. And in the meanwhile, subscribe to his channel and subscribe to everyone's channels in the description, right? So Ali's channel, Guy's channel, Elisa's channel, and Shauna's and Sid's channels are soon coming. We're gonna work on those, and then for now, subscribe to all of that. But anyways, let's go to what's happening. Look at this. Guys, people in the chat, I see our favorite people are here. Our admins are here. Fantastic, beautiful people. All right. So just before we get your commentary, let's get everybody up to date on where we're at and what are we talking about. Let me make sure that this is the most recent one. Yes, this is the most recent one. Let's see where we are at, and we'll get your input.
Today, the Qatari Prime Minister is in Tehran to meet with Iranian officials. These talks are focused on de-escalation, according to the Qatari Foreign Ministry. And it does come as President Trump told Al Jazeera overnight, quote, the U.S. is achieving a very big victory, but the war will continue as long as necessary. Another report crossed today of an oil tanker being hit with an unknown projectile in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this week. The international waterway remains a location of tension in the region as the U.S. is still overseeing vessels through the southern route. Still, the IRGC warned Wednesday that the strait would not be opened until the United States accepts Iranian demands.
Look, even now, from a military standpoint, the Strait of Hormuz and the southern route is closed. As I said, our armed forces do not allow passage through it. But under this understanding, through an interactive process, Oman itself will also accept that the southern route be completely closed, and that its closure be notified to the International Maritime Organization.
We do know parallel talks continue between Iran and Oman about control of the strait. Reports indicate Secretary of State Marco Rubio is telling allies the United States is leaning into economic pressure on Iran following a new sanctions package that was announced earlier this week. New images from inside of Iran show lines at gas stations in the country, an indication the naval blockade and sanctions are starting to have a tangible effect. Inflation numbers are also rising in Iran as the currency weakens, holding now around 2 million rial to $1 US. This is affecting the entire population of Iran.
The lifestyle this has created for us has definitely lowered the quality of the life we imagine for ourselves in terms of how we live, travel, and spend time with our friends. It has reduced the level of comfort and the ideal standard of living we had in mind. That's been its impact. It has also had a major effect on my future plans and on the business I personally wanted to start.
Regional intelligence sources tell Fox News there is growing concern among officials in Tehran about the possibility of renewed protests in Iran over the economic situation.
Yeah, so 2 things I want to add to all of this. One is that yesterday we saw videos of gas stations inside Iran that people were lining up they're coming in at 4 a.m. to line up for gas, and they thought that they were being clever by showing up that early, and when they showed up, they saw that people were there from 2 a.m. before them, and the line was already there. So, and if you show up at 8 a.m., good luck. There's no more gas anymore. So that's how bad things are getting. Also, there was analyst that I just in a few hours ago was listening from inside Iran. His analysis and this was from inside Iran. He said that they need to increase fuel prices now instead of slowly, because later they're going to have a less ability to suppress people. And the way he described it was really cruel. He says the amount of blood that needs to be shed if we increase fuel prices now is less than later. So what he means is that, like, obviously we're going to have to kill people when the uprising happens, when fuel prices go up, right? But we get to, like, but he was talking about it in a passive way, as if the blood just gets shed automatically, as if fuel prices go up and blood will spill in the streets, and this just happens automatically, like as if they don't have any agency, as if this is just expected. Like, he wasn't, like, this is somebody that considers killing people a given, and he was arguing for a way to kill less people instead of more people, and there's no option of not killing people, right? And he's talking about it as if it's just a law that happens, right? So he said, let's bring the prices high now, because our ability is higher right now for less blood to get shed, instead of later, for which we will have to shed, which more blood will get shed. But this is the current understanding of the Islamic Republic, that this will start an uprising, and they have to kill people to manage it at some point. And they're trying to figure out how to manage this eventually.
Yeah, I mean, so Sarah said it perfectly here. Yeah, I mean, they sound sociopathic. And whenever they're talking about stuff like this, they just sound sociopathic. They're very, very cold-blooded. It is really, really scary. So was there anything in between saying that we have to raise the prices now and so that less blood will be shed? Or is that really the line? Like, we raise prices now so less blood will be shed? Is that what? I
mean, that was like, it was a part of a huge, like, a speech that he had, like his analysis and everything. But this was the line that caught people's attention, right? That he was arguing that, like, let's raise prices. And he was saying it as if he was being caring.
Yeah.
He was saying, like, he said so that less blood gets shed. Like, not so that we have to shed less blood, right? Like, so that it was talking about it in a passive tense, as if it's just a natural. It will just, people's blood will just come out by increasing oil prices. Yeah.
So I guess based on what you're saying, I'm interpreting it as saying, if we raise prices gradually, then the sort of rage on the ground will increase gradually, and there will be, like, more and more and more flare-ups. Whereas if we raise it once now, there will be a protest, there will be some mass uprising, and then we can kill like a few thousand people or whatever, and then that mass uprising will die. Is that was your understanding?
So the impression of other people from his words was, like, because the regime is trying to increase it slowly so that people get used to it instead of a huge shock, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But his understanding was, we are going to get weaker. I think this is what he meant, right? And when people get, like, let them, and now we actually have more ability to fight them, right? So let them come and express themselves now, even if it's high, because we are in a place that we have the upper hand and we can shut it down, right? But if we try to slow it down, and a lot of the anger comes later, we're going to be in a weaker position ourselves later, like, maybe because they're not going to be able to pay suppression forces, and the structure of the Islamic Republic is going to get weaker and weaker under this economic isolation. So if we wait for it later, when they get angry later, we're going to be in a weaker position to deal with it, and we would have to kill more to be able to deal with it. It's going to have to be, because violence is not, when the Islamic Republic does more violence, is when it's weaker, right? When it has more of an structure and framework and an apparatus to look at what people are doing, intelligence sharing, media control, and everything, then it feels like it could get away with less violence, right? But when it feels like a collapse is imminent, and it fears the people more, that's when it actually uses more violence. So violence is actually not a position of strength from the Islamic Republic; it's a position of weakness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a last resort that they have to use.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to say too, like, this is obviously, these people are depraved, but from their point of view, the argument that you could make, if I wanted to kind of use Armin's steel man of them, is they have to know that if an uprising gets out of hand, quote unquote, from their perspective, they are going to be first in line for a mass slaughter from the part of the Iranians taking vengeance. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who, for both petty and for genuine reasons, will just participate in vigilantism. I'm not justifying anything. I think, law and order, don't get me wrong, I want the terrorists to be killed, but I would like it to be done in a lawful way. But yeah, from their perspective, though, you could make the argument that they see it as, they see themselves as the good guys because they think, well, of course we have to suppress this, because if we don't suppress this, then we're going to be removed from our power, and that could get really violent towards us. I mean, if we look at the fall of the Soviet Union, for example, there were low-level leaders and things like that who were just assassinated by mobs. So
I think that's a way overly charitable interpretation. You could, if you're afraid of dying, first of all, you shouldn't have done this for the past 47 years to the extent that you have. And second, there are ways to negotiate, like removing people from power and like sending them to other countries. There are several countries around them that would be willing to take them in, especially if like you pay them to. But they don't want to lose power, not because of they're afraid for their life. They're not afraid for their lives. They want to die fighting for God's will. But they just don't think human life is worth much. And they have a goal. And in order to complete that goal, if people who are non-believers have to die, then people who are non-believers have to die. And I think it was
people who are believers, actually. They don't care about killing believers, really.
So believers wouldn't protest against them from their perspective. Those aren't true believers. They might be nominally Muslim, but they're not actual believers. Believers would be believers in specifically the Wilayat al-Faqih. So I think Armin, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Khomeini say that, or someone said, like, if we have to kill half the planet, we'll do it?
That's Mir Bagheri. Yes, Mir Bagheri did say that.
Yeah. So I think your interpretation is plausible for Western people who might resort to this kind of thing from feeling threatened, and that's the route that Dave Smith and his geopolitical messiah, I don't remember his name, but like that's the line they take with the Shiites. Unfortunately, that line works for ordinary citizens. So, for example, there are Shiites in Lebanon that do have that fear, but fundamentally, the way that Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic work is way more nefarious or way less caring about human life than the kind of thing that you're talking about.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect dismantling of my attempt at a stillman.
Well, the point, Guy, that you made earlier about that theological point about how like they don't care about non-believers. I recently learned about what Muslim heaven is, or what they think that it is. There's basically like no incentive that true believing Muslims have to be nice in this life, because they're going to get hedonistically rewarded in the afterlife. And I think that really informs you a lot about like why they act the way that they do, because they're not going to get punished for it later, according to their theology.
Yes. So I'll quickly explain what that would be. So you get, I mean, the meme is known, the 72 virgins. First of all, it's not in like original Quran. It's like a later interpretation from my understanding, but Armin might know more than me about this, although it might differ from Shia to Sunni. I assume Armin is more well-versed in Shia Durka. But they get to, their afterlife is all the vices of this afterlife, but they're allowed to do it, and they get more of it.
Yep.
And they like I recently, like today, I saw a video of an imam explaining to children that when they get martyred, when their first drop of blood is shed, then all their sins are washed away, and so they go to heaven if they're martyred. Martyred meaning dying in combat, or dying in this case it was about dying killing Jews. So this was in the West Bank, I think, in Judea and Samaria, like Arabs live there. The idea is, if you fight Allah's war in this world is called dunya, which is like the lowest place. Okay, so you shouldn't care about this world, because there are higher planes that you will get to if you kill enough people in this world, which is not a real world. Like it's the lowest the lowest level of being is being in this world.
Yeah, their heaven is basically like more hedonistic and more perverted than this life, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hedonistic is not a bad thing as long as it doesn't harm other people, in my opinion.
They seem to. This is my perspective, and I'm not like, I'm learning about Islam too, but they seem to have combined, when Islam came to be, they seem to kind of combine some of the Christian ideas of working, like of this life being sort of a way to go on to the next one. But instead of it being about like charity and Christian love and following Jesus, it was just force people to believe what you believe and or kill them. There's also the issue, which Elisa, you might want to look into, is complicated because they had a problem at some point where they had forced so many people to convert that now they couldn't get the jizya tax, and so they had to actively like stop people from converting.
Guys, yes, that's that. We do have to focus on the. I don't want to get too far away from the news, but we could get back to topics that are separate from the main topic at hand at the closer to the end. But I see, guys, we got a lot of super chats, and I do want to respond to them. But I just think like we should. I want to first play this video from Pete Hexet. But yes, Shana, you are correct. Muslim empires were actively trying to stop people from converting to Islam because they were losing their tax revenue from the jizya collection. That was happening at some point. That is correct. And it's surprising that you know that you know a lot. Good job. All right, let me play this.
Like the soldiers
I'm not surprised.
who've been deployed over to the Middle East
Yeah,
in this conflict.
Well, just
wait. What is the question? The audio is very low. The
Is that the highest it
question
goes?
is. Yeah, it is the highest it goes. Okay, let me see. The reporter saying, why would more U.S. troops be sent to the region if ground troops are not being considered for deployment in Iran? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me see. Hopefully his answer is louder.
well, just like the previous question, it's sort of military 101.
Can you
Don't
hear
tell
it?
your enemy what
Can you
you're
hear it?
willing to do.
Barely.
Barely, but
Barely.
yes.
Okay, I'll
But
just
we
read
do
his
have
answer. I'll just read the answer. It's saying, look, son, wait, this is such a basic military lesson that even a reporter should wait. That's not his answer.
Yeah, that's not.
That wasn't what he said.
Yeah.
This guy is like,
Maybe
okay,
it's from
let me just-
maybe
let's
it's
just-
from a different part of the video.
Just like the
We can. I
previous
think we can
question,
hear
it's
him.
sort of,
we can hear him. Yeah.
well, just like the previous question, it's sort of military 101. Don't tell your enemy what you're willing to do or not do, and don't tell your enemy when you're willing to stop, especially an enemy that likes to hide in bunkers and try to hoard their missiles and hope you'll wait you out. So that's not a question I'm going to answer, or the president has said definitively. We have our own goals and guidance and things military objectives that we're moving toward and things that we look at. And as he's articulated, he's said 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, it could be any particular number, but we would never reveal precisely what it is because our goal is to finish those objectives. And we're well on our way. And the chairman and I look at this every single day. It will be the president's determination and the president's determination alone when those objectives are complete and when it serves the interest of the American people to cut that deal, to make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear capability, and ultimately that our objectives, our interests are advanced. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, just to answer.
Wait, he didn't say any of that. Like, this caption is a lie. Is this how you get likes these days? Like, this got 20K likes, and the caption is not even the video.
I see that.
One of
I
which
see
is
that happen
yours.
a lot. I don't know. I don't understand it.
I liked them so I could come back to them. But yes.
Yeah, I know. It's this is something I've seen. Actually, we had this happen yesterday, I think. And then I've seen it happen a couple of times as well. It's like the clickbaity stuff. The problem is that I think that it started because of clickbait is effective. It's an effective strategy. But also now but now I think it's evolved to people, and I know because I am guilty. So if I'm guilty, I assume that other people are guilty as well, where we'll like whatever the caption is, and then we just don't go back to the article or what it says. And so we like the summary, and then we never go back to it. So I think that's part of what the strategy now is, because now they can put in this like really like flamboyant or whatever opinion they want to put forth, and then make it sound like that's what Pete Heck said or Scotty B or whoever said whatever, because most people are probably not going to circle back.
Yeah, that was true. Like in 2010, less than 1% of people would read past the headline. So imagine how bad it is now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
that strategy is a lot of what happened with Gaza. Like, you show a video, and then there's a caption like, this video shows a child that was killed by an IDF soldier who then left maniacally, and then the clip is like maybe like a second, and you maybe get to see something unclear, but there's absolutely nothing about the video that has to do with what the caption is, and you just have to trust, well, why would they lie? Which is, they have a lot of reasons to lie.
A lot of reasons.
But
money being the first one.
It's hard because most people just trust what they see. We've been trained to believe that video and photographs and stuff like that is more honest. My mom, when she was in college, when I was in high school, she took this class showing, she did a paper on how photography lies, and this one woman who showed how photography can lie. I can't remember the woman's name. It was too long ago. But yeah,
like the
it's
way you framed the picture and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So it was exposing like how you can, just create. But most people trust their eyes, and even someone like me who's aware and has the background and knowledge, I still tend to overbelieve.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I get fooled by AI sometimes, even when I'm looking for AI. You know, like it can happen to everybody. Nobody's, immune to this.
Yeah, but the main point was just that with the article, like Armin being frustrated with the article, not actually what he said. So that's something we just now need to be aware of that they're doing.
Yep.
All right, let me just quickly. Lior is saying, please help Guy with watch hours and double stream from his channel. Yes, guys, link to Guy's channel is in the description. Please support him over there. Kevin, Amu Cappy just gave us a membership gift. Thank you so Cappy. Thank you so much, Amu Cappy. Sherry is saying, what a great looking group today. Thank you so much, Sherry. That's very sweet. And thank you for the super chat. Amy saying, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. Durud and shalom. Durud and shalom to you, Amy. Thank you so much for the beautiful super chat. Somebody start this comment. Who started?
I started. So Bill too was asking about this IR official that you were talking about, saying that we will
blood will be shed.
Yeah. So he was just wondering why are they saying it out loud, that we're going to kill people essentially.
Oh yeah, so that wasn't an IR, and that was an economist.
Oh, it was an economist.
Economic analyst. Yes, it was an economic analyst within Iran.
Not even a government representative.
Yeah, and a reformist economist analyst. Yes.
Whoa.
So the difference between the reformists and the hardliners is that the reformers is trying to get the number of people that they have to kill lower. not to stop it, but just try to like we're killing like instead
The
of killing
number
50,000
have
next
to
time,
kill.
maybe we could kill like 4,000, maybe like 5,000, like let's something like that.
Yeah.
So that's and yeah.
It's
They've
There's
an
there's
economic-
something wrong with that
economic-
sentence. The number they have to kill. That's tragic.
Yeah.
Actually.
They view the cup of blood as half empty, which is the optimistic take.
They also don't say
Could've
they
killed
have
more.
to kill. They say that have to be killed. So they completely remove. He was completely removing any accountability from it whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a regime supporter, somebody who wants reform for the regime. They're the tolerant ones, apparently. Tarun with a super chat saying, Namaste, my fellow comrades in the resistance. I don't know. I don't like the word comrade. I don't know. Should I-
Those are triggering words, Tarun.
That's a
Compatriots.
Comrades and
Compatriots.
resistance. That's
Patriots,
very
fellow
triggering.
patriots.
Thank you, Tarun.
So patriots.
Yes.
I
Patriots.
don't mind comrade because my husband jokingly refers to me as his comrade. So
Okay.
But
Is
it's-
comrade just like a Russian word that we should be okay with? Like, is that just like how you say brother? And
I associate it with
Or
communism in general.
Yeah.
but-
I associate it with communism as well. So does my husband, but that's the.
or maybe it's just Russian, and we shouldn't be like it's not
No,
communist. It's
it's
just
not
Russian.
Russian. It's
No,
not-
I think it's
not-
English.
English.
It's communism. It's communism.
Is
Yep.
it communism?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
communism.
Oh, Miss Friend.
I mean, it comes from
Okay.
camaraderie. So
Okay. And then Tarun again saying, "How's everyone?" And I feel left out of this.
Why, Tarun?
Oh,
Why are you left out?
You're here with us. You're already here. So thank you. And thank you, Tarun. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling okay.
Yeah.
I
and
like
then,
Tyrone lion.
Khubi?
It's a cool lion.
No, Tarun is Indian. So Tarun is yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I was
Yes,
just
that's the-
asking you,
yes.
man. I was just asking you.
Oh, okay. My خوبه همشه، من خوبه. Okay. I thought you were talking to Tarun.
No, I'm
Amir
just,
gifted
I'm
us
just
a
trying to use
membership.
my new vocabulary. That's it.
Amir, thank you for the membership gift. And also Rudy, thank you for the 10 joules. All right. So let's just quickly, I'm going to give a few more updates and then we're going to go to some exciting stuff. President Trump speaking to Glenn Beck, some Iran related and then some non-Iran related stuff that I think you guys would be interested in. Ghalibaf responded to China. So this is the China's spokesperson. They're basically saying China is firmly against sanctions that have no basis in international law. Okay, so this is very interesting. So for people who don't know the context, China does abide by sanctions against the Islamic Republic, but only the ones that are by the UN, right? So China's policy, official policy, is that any sanctions on the Islamic Republic that is by the US, we don't recognize that and we don't abide by it, right? That's their official policy. Any sanctions that is by the UN, we recognize it and we abide by it. However, what the Chinese government says is different from how the Chinese companies operate, because the Chinese companies, they do a lot of business with US companies or US related companies, and they don't want to stop making money. So but go on, Guy, you wanted to say something?
yeah, so I have a rhetorical question. Armin, can the Islamic Republic get any sanctions by the UN that China does not want them to get? Do they have some sort of, I don't know, veto power on UN decisions?
Wait. Not unless they're in the national security, like not unless under the rotation, they're in the UN Security Council. If they're not there, then they don't have veto power, right? So it
And
rotates.
wouldn't that go to the Security Council? Wouldn't such decisions go to the security? Because like
but Russia and China, but Russia and China are permanent members of the Security Council,
That's
and
right.
any sanctions on, so they will veto it all the time, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like we abide by all the decisions that we decided not to veto in the Security Council.
I would like to point out that
Very
what
brave.
Guy is saying in a very thoughtful and creative way is what Nux calls international law is fake and gay. To quote Nux
That's
Tato.
basically what I said.
Yeah, that's basically what he said, just in a much more intelligent and thoughtful way. International law, fake and gay for the normies.
And fake and gay just is shorthand, just so everybody knows. Fake and gay is a shorthand for that's not real, you're lying to me. This comes from the depths of 4chan back in the day.
It has
So-
nothing
so
nothing against
another way.
I appreciate the lore. I didn't know that.
Another way to look at it is that we have international framework right now that contradicts the international order, right? So the international framework that we have right now is based on how the world was right after World War II, and it made sense for it at its time, right? But it doesn't make sense anymore for two reasons. The US's power, the gap between the United States economically, militarily, from the rest of the world has become so much wider that it doesn't make sense for Russia and China to have as much of a say as they have under the framework of the United Nations, right? And that's one. Two, is Russia and China, right? Any framework that Russia and China, who are with regimes that are anti-liberty, have so much of a say for how the world should be, how the international standards and norms are supposed to be, is not a framework that serves liberty. The United States, also third reason, any international body that has had more declarations against Israel than North Korea, the Islamic Republic,
Sudan,
the
Congo.
CCP, Sudan, combined is not combined. Like we're not saying like Israel has got more condemnations by United States compared to North Korea. We're saying if you add North Korea, the Islamic Republic, China, Russia, all of them, and combine them, Israel has gotten more, right? And given that Israel is a major U.S. ally and a force for liberty, and the United Nations is so anti-Israel, and given that United Nations budget and legitimacy all depends on United States supporting it, it doesn't make sense for United States to support such a powerful force against it and its main number one ally. So I'm not against having international frameworks and norms, not laws. International laws don't make any sense. Laws,
They don't
in my
exist.
opinion,
They're not enforceable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying international law is not there is no international law because I don't recognize any higher authority than the nation state.
Exactly.
Okay, and the nation state gives law. There is no higher authority than the nation state that is lawgiver, right? And that's why international laws don't make sense. What does make sense is international norms that these nation states will independently agree to deal with each other under that framework. And I think that the UN framework doesn't make any sense anymore. And I think there is no one alternative to the United Nations. I think there should be a marketplace of frameworks. We need to have many frameworks, and they need to be competing against each other. And countries will sign in or opt in or opt out based on the services that they provide and based on how much they make sense. And I think the competition will provide us with a better framework.
And by the way, I think so. The UN is obviously very anti-Israel. If you end up with like a DSA president for the US and they apply sanctions to Israel through the UN, I wouldn't be let's say not DSA, because DSA would then be activistic about it. But let's say you get a president who doesn't quite really care about Israel, and like, fine, if you want to pass the resolution. I think that can start a wave of countries that are allied with Israel, especially if this happens after Iran is free, who would subsequently just leave the UN and then start our own international body with blackjack and hookers.
We already did. It's called the Board of Peace.
The Board of Peace is not going in that direction. I heard that claimed at the beginning. I don't think it's going as well as they hoped for that to actually be the alternative.
What do you mean?
But the UN can collapse if the US stops holding it together.
Right.
Which I think would be a good thing.
It would be.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the Board of Peace specifically is a good alternative.
I think the Board of Peace isn't working because Iran is not free, and I think the Board of Peace America would be able to put more pressure on the Board of Peace. America and Israel would be more able to put pressure on the border peace if Iran was free. That's just, I
So
think that makes
is it just
Iran's
Saudi
freedom a
dragging
higher
their
priority.
feet? Is that why the board of peace is not going as well as it could be?
Not enough countries joined.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if Saudi, I think this is my opinion, and maybe Guy can correct me. My opinion is that if Iran was free, Saudi would stop dragging its feet, and because the IRGC would stop being able to pressure Saudi. And if Saudi stopped dragging its feet, then other countries would feel more confident in joining.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree. I think the pressure Saudi's feeling about normalization with Israel is not from the IRGC or from the Islamic Republic. It's from its own population, which is being they're at least attempting to indoctrinate them into the Muslim Brotherhood. Right now, the Muslim Brotherhood has some level of force, although the internet is hollowing out Islam for the younger generations. And so if you wait it out, it's probably going to be okay. But right now, that's the pressure, and I think that's why they went with Turkey into the Mecca agreement, which is Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia. Because Turkey is Muslim Brotherhood, they sort of want to mitigate the level the level of outrage from their own population by saying, no, we are Islamic, we're still Islamic, we're not too reformist.
So, Guy,
Salman is trying to walk a fine line.
Is Turkey top dog then, or is Saudi top dog?
Yes.
in this?
No, Saudi was never top dog.
It was all Turkey. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
Mhm.
Yes.
So just on this, Armin, I wanted to understand. So you regard this statement from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs as posturing, because even though the official position of the government is that only sort of only internationally endorsed sanctions are valid, their industries still essentially comply with U.S. imposed sort of unilateral sanctions. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so I should read the full statement, by the way, but so as a whole, China likes the model that United States created after the World War II. It's working very well for them. They like the fact that United States is providing. People think that China doesn't like the U.S. military. China loves the U.S. military. They just don't like it in their own backyard. They like it everywhere else, right? So if China could have its way, the U.S. military would be stronger everywhere in the world except their backyard, okay? Because it's the U.S. military is providing the security and safety everywhere without the Chinese contributing to it, for China to take advantage of the global international trade. And, so they want the stability the United States is providing internationally because they're benefiting from it, right? And they like the world order as it is right now because they have more of a say internationally than their economy and their military would have if it wasn't the UN framework there. So they are China is very much invested in the UN and the current framework. And they're scared that the UN framework is going to be pushed aside and we're going to move towards a US-led world. The US has a lot more say in deciding who does trade with who and what the norms are, right? So for China, this is a huge threat, not just because of for three reasons, right? One, because of the control, United States basically telling Chinese company what to do and who to trade with. Two, because the Islamic Republic falling will untie the United States' hands when it comes to its military resources to be able to focus more on the Chinese threat. But three, which is a more civilizational and fundamental and longer-term problem, is that the United States deciding how to having this much influence over world trade and norms is basically the shift towards this new world model that will be more US led rather than China be seen as an equal on the table with United States. So this level of influence that U.S. has is something that China doesn't like, and that China wants to bring back everybody to the current or existing framework that everybody is dealing with.
Yeah. So yeah, just to add to that, I mean, so this is my sense too, and I'm not reflexively anti international diplomacy either, but I do feel like there are a lot of free riders on
Yes.
the American security, the American security infrastructure. And that includes China in this regard, even Russia, right? France and NATO countries as well. But certainly in the case of China and in the case of Western Europe, we see a lot of countries that have really prospered because the U.S. is managing global security. And not only have they prospered, but that prosperity has come with growing confidence, and that growing confidence has come with increasing scrutiny of the very system that they benefit from. Now, when the U.S. Starts to have doubts about whether it's working out for us, they say, "Oh, this is like a violation of norms and blah blah blah," and they're very sanctimonious about it. But I think you make a great point, Armin. What happens if we don't have the UN? Then it's going to be economic and military power that will determine the global security. And in those frameworks, they're going to have to compete. They're going to have to compete on economic and military terms, not on this strictly diplomatic terms. So I do think that is promising.
Yeah. All right, I should read the statement though, because we didn't even finish that. So they say China is firmly against sanctions that have no basis in international law or UN Security Council mandate. Economic warfare and maximum pressure provide no solution. They only serve to fuel tensions, disrupt global economic and financial order, and hurt everyone else's interests. Dialogue and negotiation is the only right way forward. Wow, this is crazy. Like, hey, why don't you tell the Filipinos that? Instead of attacking their ships. Okay, and this is China's cooperation with Iran complies with international law. We're closely following the situation and will do everything necessary to protect China's rights and interests. Quick response to that is like, yeah, it's also international law, as you say, that the United States gets to do business with who they want to do business with, right? You're like, we have the right to do business with the Islamic Republic. Sure you do. Sure you do. And the United States has the right not to do business with the companies that are doing business with the Islamic Republic. That is also within their right. Okay. So Ghalibaf, quote, tweeted that saying, "We welcome China's principled statement rejecting illegal sanctions against Iran." This is insane. Illegal sanctions. When you say illegal sanctions, this assumes that United States has the obligation to trade with countries. Like, how is that illegal? Every country, like your sovereignty, like no country's sovereignty is being violated. No country's decision making is being limited if one country decides not to trade with another country. That is their right. There's nothing illegal about this. And saying, I mean, even if there was international law, this would not be illegal. And saying the Iran-China comprehensive strategic partnership is rooted in mutual respect, win-win cooperation, and a shared vision for a multipolar world. Yeah, multipolar just means less of US. This relationship needs no one's permission. Yeah, and it doesn't. You could continue that, and again, they don't need permission from you to stop trading with you. They also have that permission. You get to keep trading with China, and United States gets to not trade with. And it's the Chinese banks and refineries have to make a decision: which economy do I want? The Islamic Republic's economy or the U.S. economy? You have a choice. They have a choice. Nothing is being violated here.
Can I just?
I think.
Sorry. Can I
okay,
just?
So I'll say one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it'll be really quick. I think this correspondence encapsulates the problem with the Western left, which is that the people in the West genuinely believe in this stuff. Like they want, an international law that is all encompassing, that gives us principles that we can abide by. And then you have these people who know that these people think that way, and then they just speak in that language while doing everything like the exact opposite of what the people on the left would actually like. If they knew what these people were doing, they would not approve of it whatsoever. But they couch it in this language and call Trump's war, like America's war, an illegal war, as if that means anything. And like, yeah, basically, this is the problem with the left, is that these people are cynical and they take you for suckers. You, the left, I mean. And just speak in the language that you would appreciate while doing everything the exact opposite of what you would want.
Was the Chinese annexation of Tibet legal?
There you go.
Well, and that's a great point, by the way, because that you brought up Tibet, because when I was growing up in the 90s and then the early aughts, Tibet was a big thing. Like everyone was like, Tibet t-shirts everywhere, all of that. And then as soon as like they get in the pockets of China and all these communists, the Great March through the universities, whatever, nobody ever talks about Tibet. The other thing too is the Tibet leader, or the Dalai Lama, has been very pro European sovereignty. So he said at some point all of these refugees have to go back because Europe is for Europeans. So that's another problem, because they don't agree that Europe is for Europeans. So
Armin, can you just go back to the tweet? Something, I don't know if you guys saw this, but just scroll up a little bit, and on the right hand corner, the bottom right corner, we have Syrian girl. I believe she is hosting. This is great. She is hosting a live stream. Was Assad betrayed by China, Russia, and someone else?
Presumably the Islamic Republic.
This is fun, guys.
By Turkey.
Oh, Turkey. Oh, Turkey. Was Assad betrayed by Turkey, Russia, and somebody else?
By Turkey. Okay, I can't see the rest. Anyways. Okay. All right. We got a lot of super chats, so let me just respond to them really quickly. Shir Hamid, thank you so much. Thank Javid Shah, appreciate you. Thank you so much for a month of membership. Tarun with a super chat saying, I'm working right now on my video about how India is playing a role actually in this whole Iran issues and war, so you guys can understand that better. Okay, Tarun,
I'd love
maybe
to
come in
watch that when it's ready.
Yeah. Thank you, Tarun. And then we have Tarun also saying, only one problem, I am super procrastinating on my YouTube. Okay, well, hopefully you can figure out a way to fix that. Amy, thank you so much for the super chat. Did Trump rename Lake Ontario? He joked about it. Actually, we are going to talk about Canada today. I don't think he can, though. I don't know. That's like not in his territory even. So, but yeah, he did joke about it.
You say that, but he renamed the Gulf. It's Gulf of America now, right?
Yeah, but that's not even. But that's not even. Lake Ontario can he do that?
I think it's also in America. Like it's partially.
Yeah,
I know, but isn't it mostly?
It crosses the lake, crosses borders.
We have joint custody.
Yeah, we have joint custody.
Yeah, but that one is. But that is more. Oh no, it's kind of equal. Yeah, sure. Maybe we'll see. Maybe
also, Gulf of America is about Gulf of Americas, so that's why he was making it like not just. I mean, I understand why people didn't like it.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree.
I did not like it. We can talk about that another time. But...
Yeah, we'll talk about it another time.
No, no. Tell us now. Why didn't you like it? Tell us.
Okay, all right. Just very simply, like when Trump won, I thought that was, I thought that okay, well, Trump has run on certain issues, immigration being one of the top ones, and he didn't mention renaming the Gulf at any time. So to me, it was a big distraction. I really don't care what it's called. I'm not too bothered by it. I just thought like, okay, this is this is one of the lowest things on the campaign priorities imaginable. It just became a big distraction, and I don't really see the benefit. So I mean, I thought it was dumb.
I can briefly defend it, but I don't think do we want to open up this as a topic of conversation?
Well, we can. I have Canada.
I'm in
coming up,
favor
so
for it, but I'm good with moving on. I love Gulf of America.
I have a Canada topic coming up, so we could get back to this then, right? Because we have a video about that. Soapbox is saying 866 subs for Guy. 130. Yes, so yes, guys, go support Guy's channel.
I think I saw Soapbox. I think I saw Soapbox report later on that the number is actually
it's higher.
It's
877 now.
Okay. So guys, we're getting very close to 1,000 for Guys. So subscribe to him, and also Elisa's channel is also in the description. Can we not advertise his channel on all Armin and other channels, please, and get it? Yeah, we are doing that, guys.
We are doing that.
We are advertising his channel. Like, I don't know. We're not going to do it every 10 minutes because then we're not going to get to the show. But we are doing that. Okay.
I think we should talk about nothing else until Guy reaches that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think.
I'm also streaming on my phone.
I think there's a marginal return on investment if we just do too much. At some point, people are going to be like, okay, all right. So
I know.
To be careful. Yeah. Okay. So Tarun, and guys, the link to all the channels in the descriptions. Please go support them. Tarun is thank you for the super chat saying if Israel or Iran support a U.S.-controlled world, then Israel or Iran support a U.S.-controlled world, then trust me, most Indian people will no longer support them, at least that much, because they don't like Trump. India. So a U.S. It's not a U.S. controlled; it's a U.S. led. Okay, because there's no controlling, and everybody else is control assumes lack of consent, right? The U.S. has a giant economy, a culture that people want, and a military that people want, right? Control assumes that the United States is forcing something on other nation states, but it's only natural for the United States with a giant economy and a giant military, for other countries to want to sell to that customer base with a higher purchasing power and want the United States to provide security for them in exchange for things that the United States wants. So that is U.S. led, and it's only natural. And anybody who doesn't like that doesn't understand reality. This is not about Trump. This is about the reality of how business and economic works and how people want security. And when you have a giant military where you can provide that security, people want that from you. So it's not, United States is not forcing this upon anybody. In fact, other people are going. In fact, countries are getting angry with United States for not providing that to them. They're not getting angry with United States for having the military there, or giving them the access to their economy. They're getting angry for the opposite reason. So if United States is leading the world, it's not because anybody is making that decision from the high ups. It's because it's just a natural response. It's a natural way of things happening if you just have a big economy, right? So if you reject that, you just have a problem with reality. But yeah,
there is problems with we're trying to cozy up to India and Bangladesh because we're trying to move offshoring off of China, and India and Bangladesh are two of the big countries we're trying to do that with, on top of other, obviously Vietnam and the Philippines. But there is cultural tension there on both sides. Yeah. Like there's cultural tension there. Just yeah.
But this is not about Trump. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. At the end of the day, India is a big economy. U.S. is a bigger economy, and Indians want access to the U.S. and U.S. wants access to India, and they're gonna try to figure this out. And this is beyond presidents. This is business leaders. This is industry leaders, and there's no stopping it. They're slowing it, but there's no stopping it. And thank you, Teru.
I know. Can I add one sentence? It's not like, do you prefer dealing with the US or China? At the end of the day, that's what it's about. Do you want the person with the power to influence you to be the US or another person, the country, or China. I think Indians would agree that they'd prefer the US, especially considering that the US plan is now to pull back and create more like regional responsible adults, like delegate power to regional responsible adults that can govern their own regions roughly. Presumably India would be that for
Can I add one
East
more thing?
Asia.
Like, not to put too fine a point on it, but this a multipolarity world is a fantasy, right? Is like nature loathes a vacuum. Somebody has to lead. Somebody has to, like take charge. So as an American, obviously, like I would want America to take charge, just like every other country is going to fight for their own national interests. America has just as much right to fight for our national interests. And if we have the largest economy and the largest military to where we can be the leaders of the world, then we absolutely have a right to do that. End of story.
To
Guys,
like,
stop touching your mic. Before Shauna, guy, stop touching your mic. Go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. So to Armin's point, though, he is correct that this is inevitable. We do have culture clashes there, but that doesn't mean that that's going to override the business demands. The reality is that we need each other because Americans have a higher purchasing power, but India has more humans. So there's a natural allyship there, at least economically. And it's going to happen. It's just it's going to go through some tensions. That are we going to be bosom buddies? Probably not, because there's cultural differences. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be really good business that's going to evolve naturally. I just agree with Armin.
I mean, I'm gonna speak to this more that what you just said, Shana, because Tarun has more super chats regarding this. But I just want to go through first. Amu Kapi saying for the confetti, and then confetti. Thank you so much.
Again.
We got to our goal. Thank you,
Right,
thank
Cappy.
you, Amu Kapi. We got us there. And then Tarun is saying, "Thank you, Amu Kapi. Very sweet, very sweet." Tarun is saying, "Even I have to admit, Trump really needs to divorce his relationship with his with his
Favorite
simp Asim Munir, if he's going to get Indian support back no matter what. Again, I think this is beyond presidents. I think this is more business and trade, and it goes beyond presidents. I think the forces at play are more powerful than who's in the White House. And Tarun also with another super is saying, well, India is the opposite. We love no Western led. I don't care because both are Pakistan boyfriends,
China and America.
But China and America. All right. So here's the thing. It doesn't. First of all, I reject the idea that Indians are anti-West. India is a very diverse country, and I agree, Shana, that there's some cultural differences, but there's also a growing entrepreneurial culture in India. That doesn't care about all of these cultural historical baggages, and they just want to make money. And that's a growing part of India, especially with the young generation, and it's very healthy and it's growing. And as much as the cultural differences might cause some problem, there is also a trend towards not giving a crap about any of that and being very pro-America because that's where the money is.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of cultural affinity. So it doesn't only run one way, right? India is it's a big secular democracy like America, and they enjoy their freedom. They appreciate that like we appreciate it. And a lot of Indians are here in America, and they have had a lot of success, and they love America. And so I think that there is, and this is not what Shauna was saying. She wasn't saying it's only clash, right? She's just saying there are cultural differences. Of course, these are, India is a very ancient people, and so yeah. But I would just say that maybe if we're looking at it only as culture clash, I think it's overblown. Actually, there is a lot. There's a lot of things that we share in common. So there are bridges that we can use. I think that I believe that a very constructive alliance is more likely than not, and that natural affinity will help to govern that.
I totally agree. There is tensions right now. So when I say like culture clash, I don't mean that it's impenetrable. I just mean right now there is cultural tensions. Some of that is Trump, but a lot of that isn't. Some of that is just a miscommunication and just cultural differences that will get worked out over time as we start to understand each other. And as far as like Indians and Indian Americans, like they are becoming more integrated and becoming more and more part of the American culture. So, for example, there's a growing trend of what they call Diwaliween, where there's like this mixture of Diwali and Halloween for like the younger Indian Americans, I should say. So there is going to grow affinities and understandings. It's just right now, one of the bottlenecks is cultural tensions. So.
Okay. All right, so let me. We do want to get to President Trump on Glenn Blake, because this was very important. There was a lot of information. I just have a few of them here ready for us. But Tarun with another super chat saying, "I mean, I love USA, but please divorce Munir, please." Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not up to us or you, and I think United States will be able to. First of all, the United States has to maintain a very, very important direct relationship with Pakistan, because without the support of United States, Pakistan will break apart. And as much as you hate the people in charge in Pakistan right now, they're far more preferable to who's going to be in charge if all of that breaks apart, right? The jihadis that will have access to nuclear weapons in Pakistan, if Pakistan turns into a complete failed state, is far, far more dangerous to the world, including India, that whoever is in charge right now. So as much as we don't like the Pakistani leadership right now, the United States is forced to support the Pakistani military, because they're the only thing between the whole world and the jihadis there that want to get access to that nuclear weapon. We're stuck in this situation. This is why we should. This is it. By the way, this is India's fault. Tarun, I love India, but this is India's fault. Because the reason why we are here is because India got cold feet. Israel had a plan with India.
True.
Israel had a military plan with India to go and do an attack in the same way that they stopped Iraq and Syria from having nuclear weapons. They were planning to do the same thing with Pakistan. But Israel couldn't do it alone because Pakistan was too far away. So what Israel managed to do in Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and stop all three of these countries from having nuclear weapons. Pakistan is now the only Muslim country in the world that has a nuclear weapon, because India got cold feet. Israel needed the help of India to attack Pakistan, to stop them from having nuclear weapons, and everything was planned, and everything was, we had to go ahead, they had to go ahead to go ahead, and then last minute India pulled out, and now Pakistan has nuclear weapon because India did not go through with that. So if United States is now in a situation that they're forced to keep supporting the Pakistani military because they have nuclear weapons, and they don't want those nukes to get into the hands of jihadis. If Indians don't like that, they should partly blame their own government. No, so Tarun is saying, so are we blaming Modi for that? I don't think Modi was in power back then. I don't know who.
Yeah, I think it was before Modi.
Yeah, it was well before Modi.
Yeah, it was before Modi. Yeah. And okay, let's go to this video. So this is big. Glenn Beck and President Trump. Let's see what he has to say.
I don't think he's dead.
Oh, this is about Mujtaba Khamenei. So Glenn Beck asks President Trump on whether or not Mujtaba Khamenei is alive. I don't know if you guys heard this, but look at this.
I don't think he's dead. He was very seriously wounded. The left side of his body. The arm, the leg, the whole thing. He was very seriously wounded, but I don't think he's dead. And if he is, they're putting on a pretty good show, because they talk about, going back to talk to him all the time, to get a final blessing on things. But, you make a deal with them. It's like, It's not the most honorable group. I will tell you that. And we have the Strait open. We took out 22 boats last night. We have people coming in. The blockade. Our Navy has been unbelievable. Our military has been unbelievable. The combination, and our financial strength. We built it up so much, like you wouldn't believe, in a year and a half. Our financial strength is unbelievable, and those things are going toward a very big victory. We had the victory in Venezuela, and we're going to have a big victory here very soon. I don't think he's dead, but if he's alive, the Islamic Republic is putting on a very good show, making him look like he's alive.
I would disagree about them putting on a good show. I have a hard time believing that if it were possible for them to, at a minimum, show a video of Mujtaba doing some type of address or whatever, if it were possible to do that, wouldn't they? Right?
Or even audio.
For the sake of legitimacy?
Yeah. So they haven't. We don't have any audio of him, and people are wondering, like, okay, even if you're hiding him for security, why can't you just put an audio out there of him? Originally, there was somebody from IRGC said that because Jews have sorcery, and with the audio, official, seriously, and with the audio, if you have the audio, they will be able to use that audio to put a curse on him. That was one of their positions. But now the official position
to be
is
fair to
that,
them, to be fair to them, as a Jew, I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah. Just look at the pager attack. That was audio sorcery.
The chat did make a good point. Like, how does Trump know it was the left side of his body? Why would he know that?
I was going to talk about that. He knows way more than he's letting on. He's saying it as if, like, the reason he knows is, well, they go back to talk to him a lot, so I guess he's alive, and the left side of his body specifically is gone. I think he's trolling a little bit by like he obviously the reason he knows he's alive is different. And for the record, Israeli intelligence also holds that assessment. I wouldn't be surprised actually if he is relying on Israeli assessment intelligence for this information. But yeah, he is alive. He's not necessarily conscious, but he is alive, presumably.
So, Guy, you're saying you're confident that he is alive?
Confident only from, like, we had reports that Israel confirms that Mujtaba is alive, or Israel is highly confident that Mujtaba survived the attack, but was heavily injured or something along those lines.
So that's the Israeli intelligence assessment, is that he's still kicking.
Again, based on what was reported in local news, like openly in open source,
I understand. Sources. So wait, let me ask this question, Armin. So what is the Aligram view of Mujtaba status?
Well, we treat it as like we don't know, but we can't explain why there is not a single audio message of him, right? So he's either dead, or the highest likelihood is he's either dead or incapable of speaking, because we don't. The only thing I could think of for him to be able to speak but not put any audio message of him out there is to create the impression that he might be dead, and then give hope when people realize that he's not. So as a way to because they have nothing else to offer to their base. So there's so much doubt whether he's alive or not. And then eventually, if he's this is a huge stretch, but it's the only thing I could think of. Like, if strategically, for them to at least give them something to be happy about, lower the expectation and just deliver the minimum, and then raise people's hopes based on that. But that's the only thing. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's the only thing that I could think of.
Armin,
I think for new viewers, we should explain what Aligrams are. Aligrams are, so Ali, Armin's co-host in Iran-related topics, that is several streams after this one. By the way, the link is also in the description to his channel. He has successfully infiltrated regime supporters or regime former supporters at this point, Telegram channels, and he brings the best of what they're saying, and it's not looking good for the regime. Let's put it that way. So when we say Aligrams, we mean the everyday regime supporters that interact on Telegram.
Armin, didn't you and Ali, I think Tusi reported on this as well. Didn't you guys report a couple of weeks ago that the IR was starting to prepare, like seed the ground to break the news of Mushtabah's death? Or was that am I mistaken?
You're muted.
Yeah, we saw some messages that of some people within officials that seem to be preparing, like going out and saying, "Guys, pray for him, pray for our leader. He needs it right."
Critical condition.
But we don't know exactly what the purpose of that is. It might be because they're preparing. He's already dead. But then maybe they may want to make it seem like he just died instead of died from originally. It also is a money-making machine for some people because they're asking for, 10,000 sheep to be sacrificed. So for his health, so they're raising money for the sheep. So for some people, this has turned into a money-making machine. So there's also that. Yeah.
Interesting.
By the way, Shana, your camera positioning makes you look like this. I don't know if you can lower your camera.
That's great.
That's okay. That's the exact framing my husband sees me as because he's 6'3". So he says that's how I always look.
Okay.
Love that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to keep it that way, I guess. All right.
It's actually just the clip. I can't clip it to my screen at all, so I can't make it any high. Yeah.
Lower. Okay.
Yeah.
It looks cute, so it's fine.
Oh dear.
Okay. We got a super chat before we go to the next clip from President Trump. It's saying, not trying to pull the same horse to all your frustration, guys, but if that is the case, why did USA and Iran stand with Pakistan and Israel with India and bang? I don't know what you're talking about, but Israel tried to stand with India. India got cold feet. I don't know what this is referring to. And it's not, and Iran doesn't stand with Pakistan. It's the Islamic Republic that stands with Pakistan. The Iranian people are actually very much against the Pakistani government and many of the people as well. So I don't even understand the question. But what if you could translate, Guy?
I think he's talking about the flare-up last year, where so Israel very much stood with India because obviously, Turkey, by the way, stood with Pakistan, as did the Islamic Republic. So like that makes sense. And I think what the U.S. did is the thing is India was winning hard, and Trump was just like, no, we're not going to do this.
We're talking about the recent conflict with Pakistan. That's what we're doing.
I think that's what he's referring to. And so from an Indian
he's talking about he's saying he's saying 971.
I don't know anything about that. But
yeah,
that's
so
like 50 years ago.
Yeah, but my question is like, why didn't India stand with Israel? Israel did do its job right and stand with India. But India didn't stand with Israel.
Well, in 1971, India was part of the non-aligned movement, and really kind of more in the Soviet sphere. So there was some distrust there.
Yeah, it was a bit more commie, so that's why United States was not comfortable with India. Maybe. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next clip. So this one context on Canada. There we go. You guys wanted to talk about the whole Lake Ontario and everything. So let's see what President Trump is saying about Canada now.
They are one of the worst countries in the world to deal with. And this has gone on for many years.
Wait. Can we say this? I love Canadians and Canada.
Correct.
I do not like their administration.
Okay, well,
right?
The administration and the previous administration too is terrible.
Yes.
But they have taken advantage of the.
That was nice. Glenn Beck. Good. I appreciate what Glenn Beck just did here. Can we say this?
It's nice that you made that distinction.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But they have taken advantage of the United States for many decades. Actually, they charge tariffs that are unbelievable. Like on milk, 400%, and on like, and I just said we're taking them on, and I took them on at the beginning, but we had so many other things to do because the country was a mess. But I said we're going to take them on. We're going to stop it. And you saw the Lake Ontario. You know, people thought I was kidding, but maybe I wasn't, because the last one you saw was the Gulf of Mexico, is Gulf of America.
I know.
So now we have a Gulf and we have a lake. Okay, you know, it's very simple. But look, I don't want to go into great detail because it's maybe boring to people, but to me it's not boring. They charge tariffs. They take advantage of us as though they were a state, and they're not a state. And they've taken our car industry, and they've taken our agriculture industry.
Yeah.
You know, the farmers can't sell anything in there because the tariffs are so enormous, and yet they want to sell in us without any tariffs. So I had a deal that was a pretty good deal, you know, quite good, and because they're afraid that I won't do any business. In other words, we won't trade. They don't have anything that we have to have. Okay, we can get by. I mean, there are a couple of things that would make it a little inconvenient, but we could get them elsewhere. And it's time to teach Canada you can't do this anymore. We lose $60 billion and really more than that, $60 billion a year with Canada.
Mr. President,
we can't do that. They are.
All right. Thoughts?
So to me, I think that renaming the Lake of Ontario is the equivalent of taking a misbehaving dog and sticking their nose in the crap they just took on your carpet, right? It's like, you've been scamming us and ripping us off for years and years and years with your white labeling scheme, you know? So it's like, you know, you're a bad dog. You took a crap on the floor. We're going to stick your nose in it. That's how I see it.
I think this is huge. This is the first time I've heard Trump claim that Canada is not a U.S. state.
You know, that's a great point. He has actually
catch there.
Somewhat respected the sovereignty of Canada. Well, I don't think they're really a sovereign state because they're part of the Commonwealth, but that's a little bit of a hot take.
Mm-hmm. They're a state of the UK, of the Islamic Republic of Britain.
Yeah. They're part of the Commonwealth. We declared independence. But by the way, this has to do with Canadian history, because when America declared independence, formed our own state, the British at the time, the British government took that as the reason why that happened. The reason they lost America was because they had too many independent free thinkers in the United States. They sent too many of those types of people, too many well-educated independent thinkers. And so they decided to flood Canada with more farmers and stuff like that. And I'm not saying Canadians are stupid because of like something like that, but it has to do with like the identity of who they sent over to Canada were already like way more loyal. And America also took in some British people after the American Revolution. Some of my ancestry goes back to this, of people who were in Great Britain. They weren't Americans. They weren't colonials, but they supported American independence. And so they went to America after America had a constitution.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, chat, just so everybody knows, like Americans and Canadians, we love each other. There's a lot of love between Americans and Canadians. It's just, again, y'all's government. Y'all don't even like your government. We certainly don't like your government. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, chat.
Yeah, totally true. I wasn't trying to slide. I was just talking about like general government and identity. There's a difference there because of the histories are literally different in terms of who came over. But yeah, Canadians and Americans also intermarry a lot. I have been so far north. I have a lot of friends who are half Canadian, half American. That's not uncommon in my area.
The biggest problem, one of the biggest problem Canada is having with United States is that Canadian loves United States too much, to the point that the best of Canada is moving to the US for higher paying jobs, and it's a huge brain drain right now for Canada. Like everybody that becomes even successful in Canada just moves to the United States. Like not everybody, but many people, right? So this is a huge
hashtag close the northern border.
They have better access to healthcare here.
So quicker, at least quicker access.
Yeah.
They end up getting it. So
The brain
Yeah.
drain is absolutely true. If you look at like a lot of our celebrities are actually, a lot of American celebrities are actually Canadians, because people who want opportunities will leave, and it's super convenient for them to leave. And they also don't translate as immigrants, because they don't really, if they drop their Canadian accent or whatever, they just translate to Americans. They're so similar already.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually know something about this because okay, so it's not a fair comparison. My mom got cancer, and she was in Iran when she had cancer, and in Iran she had access to really good healthcare, not because average Iranians have access to good healthcare, but because my family was better off, and my dad is a doctor. So the hospital that she was in Iran was like VIP, like she was being treated like VIP, right? And she had really good health care. But she didn't want to die in Iran because I couldn't go to Iran, because I would be hanged if I go to Iran. And she didn't want to die without seeing me. So she came to Canada, so she could die while I'm, with the whole family, including me, right? And when she came to Canada, we had to wait so long before she could. Like she left a really nice hospital with a lot of access to multiple doctors a day, to not being able to see any doctor for a long time, right? And then she died shortly after. But she said it was worth it, is because she preferred to be by next to us when she's on her deathbed, rather than there by herself. So, but I know like it's very slow in Canada, very, very slow.
God bless your mother, Armin. I'm so sorry. God bless her.
Thank you. We go to the next video, but before we do, there are 2 super chats. Amy, thank you so much, Amy, saying Shauna, this is for Shauna. Shauna, you want to read this and respond to this? Shauna, you read it first.
Wait, what do you mean a potential? No, they cannot have Washington State.
No. Shauna, you have to first read it for everybody, because some
Okay,
people.
I'm sorry. Shauna, I threw Washington State in a potential trade deal for Alberta. How do you feel about moving in? No.
No.
Hard no. Here's what I will accept. We take Vancouver, BC. Okay.
Oh.
And the entire Northwest Pacific corridor declares its own independence as a sovereign state before I will move again. Okay. No. As far as Alberta goes, I don't really want to take. Here's the thing. I personally don't want to take any regions from basically, I don't want to take any regions from Canada. I want Canada to get its shit together and create better trade relationships with America. I want to actually create a better North American, like what Trump is trying to do, but Canada and Mexico are refusing to get on board and get their shit together. I think we should have trade with them. They should be our highest trade partners. They should be our closest allies. That's what I want. I want Canada to stay Canada. The reason people want to join America, why some Albertans want to join America, is purely because they're so mad at their government, and their cities, just like our cities, are like overtaking their votes. So I want Canada to be free and prosperous and to get their shit together.
Well,
On that point,
I'm a little in shock here. So I thought I heard Shauna recommend an independent Cascadia, which and my concern, Shauna, is that I have a feeling that independent Cascadia will be a Soviet republic.
Well, I have that concern a little bit as well.
That's a valid concern.
However, I actually think what would happen is that all of the like conservative minorities would come out in force. And unfortunately for the Soviets in Seattle, we still have all of the guns.
True.
In fact, even going from Seattle to Everett, they were stopped by armed people. So they tried to pull that shit literally 20 minutes north of where they had their little independence thing in Seattle, whatever, I forget what it's called.
The Chaz or the Chop.
The Chaz, yeah,
whatever.
the Chaz. They tried to pull that shit up north, and they couldn't even get 40 minutes. They couldn't get 40 minutes north without having a blockade of armed people who are like, hi, we are armed, and also half of our citizens are veterans who were trained by the military. So maybe don't.
I used to be plugged in with a militia group in Washington State. So yes, there is a vibrant gun culture in Washington for sure. It's just not in Seattle, but
Not
everywhere else,
yeah.
everywhere else, yeah.
Seattle is not. Seattle only has power right now because it has so much. Sorry, my computer's being weird. The only reason Seattle has power is because it has so much economic power, and that's shifting. That's shifting to Tacoma, and that's shifting to Everett. Now that they don't have that
It's shifting to Everett. How? Who's in Everett?
People who can't afford to live in Seattle anymore, but still need access to the markets there, are moving to Everett. And anybody who just doesn't like communism also has moved to Everett. And Linwood and Shoreline, just not Seattle.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so those are growing corridors, growing areas. Yeah, so Seattle is just, in my opinion, it's just going to continue to degrade its power. And Soviet Seattle is going to just not. I'm heartbroken as a Seattleite, but the reality is the government is just fucked, and there's not enough people who have brains that are going to save it. People that can move are just moving. They're either moving out of the state or out of the city, depending on where their loyalties and benefits
Guys,
lie.
I have to go in 15 minutes, so.
Okay.
Armin, do you want to get back to the Jesse Waters video before Guy leaves?
Oh, please, no. Please.
You're muted.
I think that's already past this time now,
it's
and
old
we
news.
covered enough of it. Yes. I do want to, Guy, let's do the video that you shared. I did want to do President Trump talking about Sharia law, but before we do that, let's do the video that you shared with us, and then before you go.
Okay. Do you want? So it's in Arabic with subtitles, but do you want me to read through the captions?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Real quick, by the way, Shauna, I wish we could talk about the Northwest all day. I could go on about this for hours.
Guys, we're
Use a
moving
private
to
chat.
this one. Yeah.
I have made the decision that I want to tell the truth as it is, even unto death.
We can do it this way. There's an auto correction, like an auto. If you go out of full screen, you can choose the language, and so it wouldn't sound as weird. But we can just hear it in English, and then I wouldn't have to read it through. So
I didn't catch the date. When is this from, Guy?
It's from last week.
Last week, okay.
Okay. All right, let's go back. Here, the date is August 12th.
Got it.
Right here.
This is a Christian Arab from Lebanon, which is the largest Christian Arab community in the Middle East.
Okay, so Christian Arab in Lebanon, Lebanese political activist. Let's see what he's saying.
أنا آخذ قرار إني بدي أقول الحقيقة مثل ما هي.
My latest decision is to stick to the truth no matter what.
الحقيقة اللي أنت بتعتبرها.
What's your truth?
سلام مع إسرائيل.
I want peace with Israel and relations that are more than just good.
وعلاقات أكثر من طيبة مش تطبيع أن تكون إسرائيل دولة.
I'm not just talking about normalization. I want Israel to be a friend.
أن تكون إسرائيل دولة.
I want Israel to be.
I want Israel to be like.
علاقاتنا مع إسرائيل.
I want our relations with Israel to be better than with other countries.
أحسن من علاقتنا مع غير دول.
اوف لهالدرجة.
To that extent, so the interviewer is not that keen on Israel yet. Also, like right now, supporting Israel is against Lebanese law. Technically, it's going to change soon, but technically, that's the situation right now. But he's saying to that the interviewer is saying to that extent, Israel is considered to be an occupying enemy.
إسرائيل تعتبر محتل عدو.
لا
منا صديق.
بنتبه.
No. Palestine, for me, as a believing Christian.
بالنسبة لفلسطين أنا بالنسبة لي كمسيحي مؤمن أنا قريت.
I read the New Testament when I was 9 or 10.
إنجيل وقت عملت أول إرباني بيعطوك إنجيل قريته كان عمري شي 10 سنين. بتذكر.
And I remember a verse that says an angel appeared to Joseph.
إنه في آية بتقول إنه ظهر الملاك على يوسف وقت هرب هو ومريم.
When he, Mary, and Jesus fled to Egypt and said to him,
ويسوع على مصر قال له قم.
Get up, take the child and his mother, in parentheses, and go to the land of Israel.
واحمل الصبي وارجع إلى أرض إسرائيل. يسوع أكثر.
Jesus said more than once, I have not found anything in Israel, anyone in Israel with such faith.
من مرة ذاكر ما رأيت مثل هذا الإيمان حتى في أرض إسرائيل حتى في بني إسرائيل.
يعني قصدك
In my New Testament there is no such thing as Palestine.
أنا بإنجيلي ما في شيء اسمه
يعني اللي عم تعني بعيدا عن.
Regardless of Palestine, we have Lebanese land under occupation.
فلسطين. نحن اليوم عنا أرض محتلة الجنوب اللبناني.
South Lebanon is occupied by Israel.
لا.
So he's saying no, it's not.
مش محتل.
يعني أنت كشخص لبناني أصلاً كيف
As a Lebanese person, how do you view things when you say you want to talk to Israel?
بتشوف الصورة إذا عم بتقول بدك سلام مع إسرائيل؟
معلش منه محتل.
South Lebanon is not occupied. If it were, Israel would not negotiate with you.
محتل جنوب. محتل ليش عم بفاوضك؟ ما زال احتلك وخلص ليش عم بفاوضك؟
في حرب.
There was a war going on.
كانت قائمة.
احتلال مثل العثماني احتلك.
The Ottomans occupied you for 500 years.
يعني كان هو الحاكم، كان هو القاضي، كنت تدفع
له ضريبة. The judges and you pay them taxes.
لكن المعنى في عدو.
But Israel is an enemy. So and then he's going to respond, why do you call it an enemy?
ليش بدك تسميه عدو؟ الإسرائيلي اليهودي بحب الحياة.
The Jews love life. They like to live and have fun.
اليهودي بحب السهر، بحب يعيش، بحب
يعني حرام تبكي الأم الإسرائيلية
So it's a shame when an Israeli mother cries over a dead son. That's the interview.
الأم اللبنانية شو وضعها؟
But what about Lebanese mothers?
عم تبكي كمان في دم.
حرام.
It is a shame when it's the mother of a civilian or a soldier in the Lebanese army.
على الأم المدنية والأم اللي شهيد مدني أو عسكري بالجيش اللبناني أو بأمن الدولة أو بس
But Hezbollah fighters themselves, they want to die.
المقاتل بحزب الله ما هو بده الموت. ما زال انسحبت إسرائيل.
When Israel withdrew in 2000, in the year 2000, so Israel occupied Lebanon until 2000, and then Ehud Barak, the prime minister, withdrew the troops from Israel, and that allowed Hezbollah to grow. They, meaning Hezbollah, went to die in Deir ez-Zor and Dara in Syria.
إسرائيل سنة 2000 لحقوا الموت على دير الزور وعلى درعا، لحقوا الموت على سوريا، هن بدهم يموتوا.
They want to die, Hezbollah.
بينما جيش الدفاع
In the IDF, on the other hand, and specifically he said the IDF, which is itself big. He called it like the Israeli Defense Forces, not the occupying army or something like that. They don't want to die. They don't want war.
إسرائيلي ما بده يموت، ما بدهم الحرب.
Okay. So, really briefly, this is a sentiment that is now becoming very commonplace among Christian Lebanese. If Christians in the West who are turning anti-Israel knew as much as the Christians in the Middle East know, they would kiss Israel's feet. this used to, like, this is illegal, but it's becoming more commonplace that people are saying that this because they're not afraid of Hezbollah anymore, because Hezbollah has been weakened by Israel, and they feel like they're slowly getting liberated from the Islamic Republic's occupation of Lebanon. The Islamic Republic is occupying not just Iran; it's also occupying Lebanon, and to a lesser extent, Iraq. This sentiment is probably very widespread secretly, or used to be very widespread secretly among Lebanese Christians, who are a third of the population, and it's now becoming more commonplace. And there are many calls by Lebanese. So Sid and I said how we see commonalities between the Israelis and the Iranians. I see the same commonalities between Israelis and Christian Arabs in the region, especially in Lebanon. And I'm very excited for the future where Israel and Lebanon can be allies.
Yeah. You know, the argument he made about the New Testament, you could make the same argument about the Quran. There is no Palestine in the Quran. There's Israel is mentioned many times in the Quran, not a single time Palestine. And you don't even have to be a Christian or a Muslim to see this point, because even if you don't believe in the Bible and the Quran, these are documents from that time, right? And it demonstrates at that time people didn't recognize Palestine, they recognize Israel. So you don't have to be a Christian to realize that there was no Palestine then, because the Bible says Israel. And you don't have to be a Muslim to recognize if the Quran doesn't have Palestine in it and has Israel in it, it means that back then there was Israel and there was no Palestine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just add to this. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, I've been observing Arabic media for some time, not as closely as Guy, and I don't speak the language, so I can't claim to know it as well as he does. My sense though is that while this probably still represents a fringe perspective, there is an opening of the conversation that is happening that I don't think people are necessarily aware of in the West. And what I think is happening is that in the Middle East, in the Arab world, in the Middle East in general, both the Palestinian narrative and the Islamic narrative are really coming under attack in a way that's not happening in the West, which is very, very strange. And I think the West is becoming a kind of release valve. Like, where can we maintain this narrative? Because I think it's coming apart, and it may be slow and it may be on the fringe, but the point is that this kind of conversation wasn't really happening 10, 15 years ago.
Right. So I have to go. But first, so just to add to that, like as some of you know, I have an online course for learning Hebrew, Heblio. Briefly put it in the chat for people who are interested. And I've been surprised by the number of like Arabic names for people who are interested in the course or bought the course. One thing, Armin, can you briefly put my channel up, like the page of my channel? I have a request to make. I know I don't make many requests. I never ask you to subscribe, never ask you to watch my channel. I'm very
never.
I would never do that. But
in fact, he does the opposite. He doesn't want you to watch it. He wants you to unsubscribe.
Yes. Maybe. So go to videos. The latest video uploaded, I think, is really, really important, and we need to make it go viral. So war crimes, right? So irrefutable proof of war crimes committed in Gaza. Send this to anyone who still is skeptical. This shows this is a clip from the stream we had a couple of days ago, where I showed Fathi Hamad, the interior minister, who explicitly talked about using human shields, and I showed the school with the tunnel underneath. And so if you can send this, like people in the chat, if you can send this to people, then like we really, if this is a great video, if it goes viral, then it's a great help to everyone here. KP is asking, wait, does Guy teach this class? Yeah, it's a course. It's a self-paced course that I made for learning Hebrew, from learning modern Hebrew. Okay, have to go put my daughter to sleep. Goodbye, everyone. It's been fun.
Guys, go subscribe to Guy. The link is in the description. He is 120 away from 1,000 subscribers, right?
Okay,
and
you said this, not me. I never asked for anything.
Yes. Go watch his Go watch his videos there so that he could get more watch time, so that he could monetize his channel. Please, link is in the description.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.
I wish Guy could
Yeah.
stay for longer. I did have a question, and I don't know. I just kind of want to put it out there. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. I would be curious how Arab Americans, specifically Arab Christian Americans and Lebanese Americans, how they like identify or feel about Israel. Like, I don't know if we have any data on that. I'd be really, really curious. Just because. Yeah, I would like to know, like, if they tend to side more on a pro-Israel, if they're more nuanced, how they feel about that.
Which Arabs? Which Arabs?
Arab Americans, Arab Christian Americans, and Lebanese Americans. I know that those are all like very related categories, but people identify differently. This is what I found is it's very hard to get numbers on this stuff because it's a lot of self-ID going on. Which is understandable given their history, but it makes it harder to like get a grasp on what they, feel.
Another topic, which is, I don't know if it's related or not. There are more and more Arab Israelis that are feeling patriotic and proud of their Israeli citizenship, more than usual. So it has increased since October 7th, which is interesting. It still could be a lot higher, but that's something that happened after October 7th. Okay, so Tarun would give us a super chat saying we really need to get Kushal Mehra on this panel. Shana, can you mute your mic because we hear the typing? So, Tarun, I had Kushal Mehra on my channel. If you want him on our panels, sometimes as a guest, maybe you could go and tell him. And he has my contact, and we would be happy to have him on as a guest. Yeah, guys, sometimes I think we could have guests on sometimes, from other channels. We could all get their opinion. So on a panel. Good idea, Teru. Sticky Beans, thank you, Sticky Beans, for the super chat saying when the Romans exiled the Jews from Judea 2,000 years ago, they named the area province. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to Provincia Palestina to humiliate the Jews. Yes. So Palestina name existed 600 years before Quran, yet still the Quran called it Israel. Yes, because it wasn't yet, even though that's a very good point. It wasn't still normal. Like even though the name is pre-Quranic, it wasn't still the name that was used locally, which shows that the Romans failed for a long time. Yeah, but go on.
Can I add to this? So when Herodotus visited the region in something like around 500 BC, he called the region Palestina as well. And so this is basically like would have been more than a millennia before the Quran. So the name has an association with the region for some time. I think that there is a debate, a historical debate about whether Hadrian renamed the region as an act of spite or just because he was a Hellenophile and loved Herodotus. I don't really want to weigh in on that debate, but I think that Steak and Beans point is even more valid. It says the name Palestina for the region it was at least a millennia before the Quran, and yet still the Quran didn't use it at all. Totally ignored it.
I also would like to point out something about this that's really interesting if you look at the history, is Jews would call themselves Palestinians. It was originally more of a Jewish identity that Arabs kind of co-opted after Israel declared independence and won their country. And the reason it's on old passports, and you can find it in just different interviews. And different like writings, people would refer to themselves as Palestinians or Palestinian Jews. So I don't know the exact year. I just know that it's something that happened in things that I've read. But my main point though is that actually shows the fact that they just adopted the name of the land that was conquered and still continued to identify with it, shows that their identity was still tied to the land. So even though Rome came and Rome and then later Britain came and put this false name on it, they just said, fine, if you're going to name it wrong, then I'm going to just take this identity because I am identified to the land. So it shows that they are deeply rooted into that land.
I'm learning so much.
And I appreciate
it's fascinating.
Elisa's thirst for knowledge inspires me. Like I noticed, like, when other people are dropping like facts, Elisa, like, oh my god, that is interesting. Oh my god, where's the link to that? So I really admire your curiosity, Elisa, and your thirst for knowledge. It's very sweet.
Yeah,
yeah. And then Steak and Beans with another great quote saying it failed till 1917 when Brits called it that. Yeah, it was the British Empire that made the name Palestine stick, not the Roman Empire, which is a good point. Yes. All right, great point. Thank you so much, Steak and Beans, for the super chats. And okay, so now President Trump talking about Sharia law. Did you guys hear about this? So let's see President Trump talking about Sharia.
Number one on Sharia law, I would absolutely say that's not this country. There was no Sharia law. And you do have pockets of it, as you know. I would say no. And you go to London, you go to Paris, it's almost like a second way of life. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I would absolutely be on your side on that, on a lot of other people's side too. Because, you know, you and I have people that I think we're more based on common sense than we are on ideology. It's all about good politics is all about common sense anyway. But I would absolutely prohibit the Sharia law thing. And it is happening in this country a little bit. And where we see it, we take it out. And you have to take it out. You have one system. We have a great system. Sometimes it's very frustrating, but it's the best there is that I can see. Number one on.
I appreciate President Trump saying this is the best system, even though he was dragged into court after court after court. And he says, like, sometimes it's a bit frustrating, but it's the best that there is out there. So him, after his experience, him saying that this is the best system, that actually means a lot.
Well, he fundamentally does not want to break the system. Like, that's the thing, right?
Yes.
Like he proves every day that he is not what his opposition defames him as. He genuinely believes in upholding the law, and just because it was used against him in a vile manner doesn't change any of that, right?
Yeah, well, I would just say that there are a lot of people whose hair is on fire about Trump's let's say lack of ethics. And I think that, like, you know, I mean, I haven't really looked deeply into it, but I think that there's some things that are questionable. But Elisa's point is valid, and it's largely because Trump's opposition is so hysterical, and this has always been the problem. Like, you know, I was never a Trump supporter, but from the moment that you know, he sort of appeared on the scene, I just saw this just unreal level of hyperbole. Like Trump's opposition could not describe him accurately. They could never describe him accurately. They always had to add extra and extra and extra, and Russian hoax and all of this stuff, right? And so this was a real problem for me, because it's just like, what are we talking about? I mean, I remember. Okay, quick anecdote. There's a television writer producer who I really admire. Okay, somebody that I have incredible admiration for, because I think he made a masterpiece. And I remember in December of 2016, he was just going off. He was going off about how something about Aleppo in Syria, and blaming it on Trump. Right. And I was like, wait, what's going on here? And I remember we ended up having like a Twitter beef. We started arguing on Twitter because remember, this is December 2016. So this is before Trump had even taken office. But apparently Trump, before he had taken office, was responsible for massacres happening in Syria. This is the level of delusion.
Like before he was even elected?
But before, more than a month before his inauguration, he was being blamed, right? He was being blamed for something happening in Syria. It was incredibly retarded. And this is somebody I'm saying I have incredible admiration for this guy as an artist. I think that he made a masterpiece.
See, this is a really important point for me as well. Like I like real quick. It always bothered me. So when Trump first came down the golden escalator in 2015, I honestly thought that he was just trolling everybody for a while. I really did. And then as the campaign went on, I noticed all the hysteria, as to your point, Sid, and I started thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. This man has been a public figure since the late 70s. He was a superstar in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. Everybody knew who he was. He hung out with everybody, got on well with everybody. There wasn't a single article or news broadcast or anything about him being any of the things that he's been defamed as, racist, assaulting women and all this other crap. Nothing like that. It wasn't like, like some common lore from when he was just a celebrity. But all of a sudden, all of these accusations and all this hysteria being thrown his way. And I thought, that's really interesting. And as time has gone on, the accusations have just become more and more hysterical, more and more hyperbolic. And it makes them look, it just made them look suspicious. So I started digging into it. Myself and other people who still support Trump to this day, digging into all these accusations, find out that it's just bluster. It's just hollow. There's no there. And, so people who want to talk about, Trump's, as you say, lack of ethics. I would like it if you'd be a bit more clear about what you mean by that. But, but the same people who are so hysterical over Trump are the same people who defend people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And anybody who pays attention to politics know how deeply corrupt and evil Hillary Clinton is. Barack Obama is a war criminal. How many innocent people were turned into pink mist because of Obama and the way he prosecuted the war in the Middle East?
I have to point out there's a couple of things going on here, which is I think that there's a double standard, but I think that the rage has they were fundamentally angry about one thing, and then they just have changed what they're mad about because their identity has become, for large portions of the Democratic Party, their entire identity is anti-Trump. They don't have any other political identity anymore. He's erased it. So I would say that, and I'm not saying that's everybody, but basically what I saw happen was Hillary Clinton lost, and that was the original spark that was the unforgivable sin, because they had this political stratosphere that said she was next in line. It was her turn for blah, 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 blah. And they didn't really believe in democracy anymore. They believed in this whole rite of passage almost. And Trump turned that over.
Right.
Okay. We have to be careful not to over adjust though, right? There are people on one side that say everything Trump does is wrong. Okay. But then we do have other people on the other side that think that Trump can't do anything wrong, right? And there are certain things that, as somebody who praises Trump a lot, and also I'm so grateful for what he did to the Islamic Republic. There are certain things with regarding to crypto, some that is really questionable. And I don't know how could that be justified. The meme coin that he created and basically did a rug pull on the people who bought into that, right? So, and he got billions of dollars personally from that, and the people that he bought into that lost a lot of their money. right? So again, I see the good, but there's also some justified criticism that I don't think that we should ignore. Like, I think like we shouldn't go all the way to the other side and be like, okay, like everybody who's criticizing President Trump, everybody is doing TDS, everybody, just hate him. And
I agree with that. I want to say that I don't like, there's some things that I've seen, I can't call anything to mind right now. There's some things that I've seen that have given me the ick, so to speak. But I will also say that he's not doing anything really, in my mind, more than what other politicians have done. He's just being less sneaky about it, and he doesn't care as much, and that's kind of a problem. And that's kind of also
so if those other politicians deserve criticism, right? Like if sometimes people defend him like, well, other people do it, and they're like, yeah, and we criticize them too.
Yeah, that's not good enough.
You're correct, but I'll give you a better example. Here's a better example, right? So COVID, the way that Trump handled the COVID pandemic, a lot of right-wingers and MAGA supporters take serious issue with it.
I actually praise him for COVID. I think Operation Warp Speed of President Trump was like that's one thing that I love President Trump.
The reason why a lot of right wingers take issue with it is because of what we know today about the vaccine and all the vaccine injuries and the lockdowns and everything.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I agree with President Trump actually. So
okay, well, but that's a point where right wingers do disagree with Trump, right? So it's like, here's the thing: the things that the left is the most hyperbolic about. Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So everything that the left tries to draw attention to, it turns out to be like, no, they're there. It's it's one nothing burger after another. So that's what creates this illusion that Trump can do no wrong, because every time they make an accusation, it's just a lie. So it builds up this illusion, this God Emperor illusion that he can't do anything wrong. And it's not that he can't do anything wrong. Like he's human just like the rest of us. And there are valid criticisms of him, like with the way he handled COVID as one example, where there's some valid criticisms in there from the right wing perspective.
No, I think we're all here pretty balanced. Like we disagree. Like I actually think I praise President Trump when it comes to the COVID vaccine on that. So I criticize him over the cryptocurrency stuff. I praise him over COVID vaccine, and you criticize him over the COVID vaccine stuff. So, but we might disagree on where President Trump did right and where President Trump did wrong. But at least we're not zero. Like we're not like black and white. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
right.
You're neither worshiping him and you're not just hating him irrationally, and neither am I. But we disagree. Like, you think he did bad on COVID? I think he did great on COVID. I think he's doing some shady stuff with crypto, and maybe you haven't looked into that, right? But yes, yeah.
And that's what we have to strive for, right? We have to strive for, an environment where our politicians are held to account, right? They are challenged, but they're done so honestly.
To Armin's point too, like there's some shady stuff that he's done. To calling out other politicians, for example, Nancy Pelosi will leave office much richer than she should have been able to, just based on a public salary. So things like that, she's the most obvious example of this. But that's the kind of shady stuff that I see that people are doing, or like Biden saying he's not going to pardon his son, and then on the last day he did. So those are examples where I think that was also wrong. So I just want people to keep the same energy. There are things that like, for example, I do think Trump does hold his family a little bit too close. I don't like that Kushner, as his son-in-law, is the one that's involved in the Middle East. I don't think he's the one that's the most qualified either. So those are things that I don't personally like. And so those are things that I think a lot of Americans, we don't, it feels very monarchical to us. I think it kind of gives us, just naturally sort of makes us off put. But politicians weren't being individually held up for that until Trump started to do it. Like, nobody said anything about Nancy Pelosi or any of these things for the most part. So that's why I think that a lot of Americans who support Trump kind of get this sort of reaction. Also, there's an overreaction about defending Trump as well, and I think Armin's correct about that. Like we like get so sensitive that we don't want to admit that he can do wrong. And I'm glad that there's this panel though, because we can have a nuanced conversation about where we agree with his presidency and where we don't.
We did forget to mention the whole Sharia law stuff that he talked. Okay, so Elisa, I'm going to mute you because I'm hearing a lot of background noise. We did. Oh, she left. Do you know where the let me move myself to here. With regards to Sharia, one thing I do want to mention that a lot of people say Sharia doesn't belong in the West or in the US. Every time that happens, I do want to add that Sharia doesn't belong anywhere, right? So I know what people mean, and I know I'm being nitpicky when I say that, but I do want to say it every time. Every time people say Sharia doesn't belong in Europe, Sharia doesn't belong in the United States, I always want to add to that, because it comes with an assumption that it does belong in the East, that Sharia belongs in the Middle East, and it doesn't. Okay, Sharia doesn't belong anywhere. Sharia doesn't belong on planet Earth. And then people say Sharia is anti-West, anti-Western values, and I think Sharia are anti-life. It's anti-human. And no country, no place on earth should tolerate Sharia in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. And I just want to mention that.
I agree with that, but I have a question for you. When it comes to Sharia, one of the arguments I've seen against hey Elisa, against pushing back, we heard you, just so you know, against pushing back is one of the things I've heard from more liberal or libertarian people is that they'll say, well, Sharia, like Jews have the Haredi or the Hasidic Jews in New York have their own special religious courts. Other religious people have their own religious courts. I'm not saying they're right. I just would like you to do a quick 2-second like dismantle of that. And I think that every time this comes up, we need to dismantle that because it's a common thing I hear.
Can you ask it again, because Elisa coming in and out and moving around distracted me? Can you do sorry.
I'm sorry, my browser freaked out on me.
It's okay. No, not your fault. I just wanted to get the question again. Go on, Shanna.
Okay, so my question is something that I hear from more libertarian circles is that Sharia law is a religious court, and Jews have religious courts, and Mormons have religious courts, and everybody has religious courts. And so why can't they just have their own Muslim religious courts? And how is that any different? And why aren't you discriminating? Why are you discriminating?
Okay, so Jews, Mormons, everybody else, if they have courts and a set of laws and then an enforcement mechanism, then they shouldn't have it either, right? There's one law in one nation state for everybody, and it needs to be all citizens should be abiding by one set of laws, because that's the definition of a nation state. Okay, you have a group of people, right, that makes that are similar with that are bonded with each other, that are similar in some way, that bonds them, that creates an identity. That's a nation, right? Either in a specific geographic area, if you have a group of people that are connected with each other, either based on values, ethnicity, religion, or whatever, that's a nation. And then if that nation has a state, that's a nation state. What is a state? A state is a system with a set of rules that are being enforced. Okay, so you have a nation. If especially the enforcement mechanism is very important. If you have a nation like an ummah, and then you have certain set of rules and an enforcement mechanism, you're effectively are creating a nation state. And if you're creating a nation state within a nation state, that's an act of invasion, right? Or insurrection, or whatever you want to call it, right? So if you have and if those rules violate, especially if you have certain rules for your community that doesn't violate the higher authority rules that are being passed down by the nation state, then that's fine. For example, you have homeowner association, or you have the bylaws in your building, right? Because there's no violation of that with the laws of the state. But if you have certain laws that are being enforced that violate that, parallel to that, independent from that, then you're basically are creating a nation state, especially if you have an enforcement mechanism. And this should be applied to everybody, not just Muslims. However, the reason why we zoom in on Muslims more than Mormons or Jews or everybody is because this is their stated goal, right? So if the Jews have some certain rules for their community or some security mechanism or some rules for their community that they abide by, to me that's more like homeowners and association rules or bylaws of a building, right? And if it's proven otherwise, then we need to actually react to that and shut it down, right? But because there's nothing within the Jews or Mormons or Christians that communicates the intention of taking over and violating a nation state and breaking that down, I'm less suspicious that they're trying to do anything like that. To me, if Jews have a policing in their neighborhood, this is about security, not about competing with the state. Or if they have any community standards, this is just about community standards in the same way that a homeowner and association has, not about competing with the state, right? But if somebody proves otherwise, they're like, okay, that should be responded to, that should be reacted to as well. But because Islam has inherently within its religion the stated goal of conquering and expanding, and because the people who are coming up with these rules and these enforcement mechanisms, many times the mask slips and they do say that that's the intended goal, then we would be zooming in on them. Like it makes sense for us to focus on that more, right? But at the end of the day, anybody who does that, it should be responded to and it should be stopped. But with Muslims, we could see that the enforcement mechanism, that the rules violate the nation state laws and rules, that the enforcement mechanism exists, and the intended goal is to eventually violate the rules of the nation and eventually, topple it. So that's why we are more suspicious, and rightfully so. Does that make sense?
No, that was a perfect answer. The only thing I would say is that the lefties, and they're very annoying, but just to address them, they will say that Mormons and Jews practice enforcement by excommunicating people. And so they'll say that that's a form of enforcement. I don't agree, because when a Mormon is excommunicated or a Jew is, they're not really excommunicated, but when they leave, they leave the community. They don't move necessarily. Many do choose to, but they're not required to, because you can't force somebody out under U.S. law if they're not breaking any of the U.S. laws. So I just want to point out that there are lefties, far lefties, that will say, well, they practice enforcement because they practice any community guidelines, which I think is stupid. And I think the idea of not having community guidelines is like HOAs, like you talk about, is.
Yeah, and that's obviously not the same thing. But Armin, real quick, because when I was trying to fix my technical issues, I didn't catch everything you said. You had made a point about Islam doesn't belong in the Middle East either, just because it happened to start in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, modern Saudi, the Hejaz, yes.
Yeah. So just because it started there doesn't mean that it necessarily. Can you expand on that for me, please? Obviously, I agree with you. Like it's anti-life. Like you said, I heard you say that. But like, just because that's a cultural sort of export doesn't mean that it has to continue to stand. But I guess then my question would be, like, how do we reverse engineer that? I'm aware that that there are more people in Muslim majority countries that are leaving the faith because they just they just don't see the point anymore. But sort of beyond that, can you expand a little bit for me?
Yeah, Islam fundamentally goes against human nature,
right?
And humans are essentially the same on average, right? Whether you're Arab, Jew, or white, black, right? So what makes a society healthy and prosperous and safe, the main rules, the main values. If it works in the U.S., it works everywhere else as well. I mean, we can see this, like the principles that made United States a greater country. Those apply to, I don't know, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, made them great countries as well. It's basically the same fundamental values, which is pro-liberty values, right? And Islam is anti-liberty, right? So if it doesn't work in the United States, it doesn't work in Saudi Arabia either, right? It goes. Communism and Islam go against human nature, and they are values and standards that stop humans from achieving their highest potential, right? So that's why the reason why I say they don't belong in Saudi Arabia either, because the humans in Saudi Arabia are essentially the same humans that are in the United States. So if it doesn't work, if Sharia doesn't work in the United States, it also doesn't work in Saudi Arabia. And if they had the values that the Americans had, if the fundamentals and the standards and the framework of the society was closer to something that was pro-liberty, people there would be a lot more prosperous right now than they are right now. That's what I mean. I think it's pretty obvious, though, right?
I agree with you. Sid, did you want to jump in? Because I do have a small quibble, but you go first.
I just wanted to call out the chat. It's absolutely fascinating what's going on right now. Like, there is simultaneously debate about the ancient Levant. There's talk about Trump's ethics. There's people invoking Karl Popper and tolerance. There's talk about Islam. It is absolutely fascinating and beautiful. I'm really enjoying
I
it.
enjoy this chat. It really is a journey, because I'll look over and I'll see like all these random side conversations happening, and I'm like, what is going on? What happened? The quibble that I have, Armin, about America and liberty values. So the founding fathers, they were at a minimum deists or theists, if not Christian, properly Christian, right? And there are Christian values baked into the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, into multiple state
and Iranian values.
The reason why I make that a quibble is because the point of the separation of church and state is actually to protect the church from being corrupted by the state, right? But at the founding of this country, if you look at
so let's keep
let me finish my quibble, and then we'll move on. The founding fathers did believe that the society would be most successful with Christian morality being culturally enforced, but not lawfully enforced. So that's it.
I mean, which founding father was it that put the razor to the Bible and cut out the parts that he didn't like? Right, there were Jefferson, right? So it wasn't as much. Like, I mean, Jefferson was also the one that said, like, the idea that Jesus Christ would rise from the dead is ridiculous. That's what he said. Like, that's one of the founding fathers. But I'm not saying. But I do agree that the Christianity had some influence in American values, right? There was also a lot of Enlightenment thinking that came out of Western Europe that was later, that has influence. There was also Iranian values that influenced the constitution as well from this King Cyrus the Great. But to me, it's all about liberty, right? Whatever excuses you find from anywhere, right? From philosophers, from the Bible, from, I don't know, a random book by a Chinese poet somewhere in history. To me, it's about liberty. And to me, it's not about protecting the church. Okay. To me, it's about allowing people to worship. And allowing people to do whatever they want as long as they're not harming anybody, right? So the separation of church and state is not about protecting the church to not get corrupted. It's about allowing people to do whatever they want to do as long as they're not violating other people's rights. right? And also not letting scripture, any scripture, determine the law. No scripture should determine the law, right? That's what secularism is about. But also to respect people's liberties and freedom of choice and freedom of worship, and freedom to worship whatever they want, and freedom not to worship at all. Which is freedom of religion also comes with freedom from religion. It's not just freedom of religion; it's also freedom from religion, right? But to me,
right, I agree with all of that.
Wait. Let me also finish my point, right? For me, all of this scripture, ancient text, literature, whatever, it doesn't really matter. With whatever excuses necessary, from wherever modern texts or ancient texts or philosophical thoughts or whatever, you find an excuse to limit the government and get the government out of people's personal lives and allow people to make their own decisions and get the government to just focus on providing safety and security and fight corruption and violence. If you could use the Bible as an excuse, go with that. If you could find like ancient Chinese poetry, go with that. If you could find Cyrus the Great, Cyrus the Cylinder as an excuse for that, I don't care. The point is that when you get to more liberty, you would get a more prosperous society.
No, Armin, we're fundamentally on the same side here. Again, the concept of volunteerism, of that, your submission to Christ is voluntary. Like that's foundational, right? So I'm not so obvious. So obviously, I support your right to not worship, or to worship. So I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just pointing out that when you read the Constitution, not just the Constitution of the United States, but the different state constitutions, and you read the Declaration of Independence, there is Christian morality baked into those documents. So Christian morality is fundamental to the foundation of this country. That's all I'm trying to point out. I'm not arguing that they were making an attempt to integrate biblical scripture specifically into the laws. That's not the argument that I was making.
So last point I want to make, of course, you could see signs of Christianity because the Constitution was created in a Christian environment. So
right.
You will see signs of that there, right?
Right.
But you could also see, for example, that the other countries that when it got liberty through other means that was not biblical, they also became prosperous, right? Through other means, right? So for me, it's not about how you get to liberty, is about getting to liberty. And I do acknowledge that Christianity allows you to get to liberty far more than Islam, for example, right?
Absolutely.
Far more than Islam, right? But to me, it's about getting to liberty. And if whatever excuses you want to come up with, just get to liberty. And that, yes, we do have some super chats, and I do want to get to the video, but Shauna, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say too, one of the things the Bible did do is it created a framework to spread literacy, which is partially what got us to liberty, is increased literacy. I just want to kind of point that out.
Love that.
True. That's why yes, that's more about Protestants than the Catholics, though, because the Catholics didn't want people to read the Bible. So let's go to Stick and Beans. Stick and Beans with with the super chat saying the Arabs came here, meaning Israel, with the Brits, mass immigration for work from all around the Middle East. Before that, very, very little Arab presence was in the land. Hebron, Nablus, Sachnin, etc., were majority Jewish. Yes.
Yeah. Can I just jump on that for a second?
Okay.
So Steak and Beans is totally correct on this. One thing that really shocked me when I looked it up, because I was really curious, but the Arab Israeli population today. So this is Arab citizens of the nation of Israel. The Arab Israeli population today is higher than the entire population of the British Mandate of Palestine at the time of independence.
Wait, say that again?
So there are more Israeli Arabs today, okay, than there were people in the entire British Mandate of Palestine at the time in 1948.
That's crazy.
Okay, so and that which includes all of Jordan, by the way, right? So we're talking about all of Jordan and all of Israel. The current Israeli Arab population today, just the Arabs of Israel, that population is around something around 2 million or so, is higher than the entire population of the British Mandate of Palestine at the time of independence. So this is one of the things that frustrates me about people saying Israel is committing a slow genocide and and ethnic cleansing. I mean, it's just like, if you look around the Middle East, just look at how different outgroups are doing throughout the Middle East, like Arab Christians, like Copts, like Kurds, like Yazidi. I mean, you just don't see anything like the explosion of population of Arabs within Israel, or from the river to the sea.
So Sid, let's go through the super chats because I do want to do some Abdul videos here, right? Sticky Bean, but that's a very interesting point. Thank you for sharing that. Sticky Bean saying the Jewish court doesn't replace the state court for state laws, and it doesn't violate that. In my understanding, it also doesn't violate it. But for disputes between Jews, they have their own court to judge them on the Torah rules, but not for breaking state laws. Okay, if we have, but I don't think like we should have. If you have your own council of people deciding family stuff, I understand that. I am though against any religious courts being funded by the government, like we have in Israel. Like in United States, that something like that would never fly, right? So in United States, taxpayers don't pay for Christian courts, Islamic courts, or Jewish courts. But in Israel, we have Islamic courts, Sharia courts. In Israel, in Tel Aviv, we have Sharia courts funded by taxpayer money, and also Jewish courts, which is something I'm against, actually. Something I criticize Israel.
Yeah, I'm against that too.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Sticky Beans. And Sticky Beans with another super chat saying Jews rule from Talmud is. Well, Sid, you want to read this because I think you know more about this.
Jews rule from Talmud is Dima de Machuta, Dina, means in English the rule of the state is the rule. Means if there are state rules that not necessarily are rules in the Torah, you must obey them. Interesting. So basically, the Talmud is saying that this state law supersedes even biblical law. I didn't know that, but that's very interesting.
This is why, as an atheist, even though I don't agree with Christianity and Judaism, I do understand that Christianity and Judaism leave room for the nation-state model to do its thing in a way that Islam doesn't. Right? That's what I understand. And that's why I think within if you have Christianity and Judaism in a society, even though if I don't agree with it, it is not trying to come and take over the nation-state rule.
Yes, you can still live freely in a Christian society as an atheist.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, because of course, I understand that. But my point is that the framework of a nation state, Islam is fundamentally is against it because there should be only Islamic law, right? Mm-hmm. But Christianity and Judaism, within their teaching, they have their own standards. But they don't try to replace the nation state standards. If there is a rule of law above the rule of their scripture that other people are abiding by, they were like, okay, that's the framework for society. This is our own personal thing that we have over here, and that's why it's less of a challenge to the nation state model than Islam is, and that's what I understand as an atheist, right?
It's also less of a challenge because with the framework that the founding fathers used for the Constitution, the framework is based on rights, your inalienable rights come from God. So the government isn't what grants you rights or takes it away. You have inalienable rights that the government cannot infringe upon, or you can use natural laws from the secular point of view. You could look at it that way too.
I disagree with both of those things, even the secular one. I don't agree that our rights come from God or from nature. I do understand. I agree more with John Stuart Mill, right? So many of the Enlightenment thinkers and the founding fathers of the United States believe that we had inalienable rights that are gifted to us from God, and the less Christian ones said that it comes from nature, right? Natural laws. I think our rights are something that we create and we fight for.
Very true. That's also
make
true.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they can't both be true, right? I don't think our rights are written within the fabric of the universe. They don't come to us from nature or from God. I think rights are something
it's
that
true
are
in a civic sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that rights are human made and human enforced. And I think my understanding of where rights come from make us appreciate that because they're not natural, that means you have to guard them. Because if rights were natural, then they would just naturally happen. Like fruit that comes. So rights are more like a watch, less like a fruit. It's not something that just the nature gives you and you go pick it up. You have to actually make it, and you have to fight for it. Right? Rights are human made, and humans need to make it and protect it. If it was natural, it would have been more naturally flowing and happening. But that's my view.
Yeah, I think civically, I think what you're saying makes sense. I mean, I don't agree, but I think I understand your point.
Yeah, this is what we need, Lisa. We don't need to agree. We need to understand each other. Right. This is great. I think people insist on that. I think people insist on agreeing with each other too much. Yeah, we don't need to agree with each other. We just need to understand each other.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that.
I agree with Armin, and I also believe in Team Jesus. So.
Okay.
Jesus, on fire for Jesus here, baby.
Team Jesus. Yeah, we should divide each other. Okay, Team Jesus on the left, Team non-Jesus on the right.
No, I am probably more Team Jesus than Team anti-Jesus.
Oh, okay.
We got another one. Let's go.
I'm not a believer, but I like Christianity. I like Judaism.
Okay, so Sid is not a Christian but likes Christianity. Okay.
Yes. I like it.
Okay, Ellie. Well, I mean, I like the customs and the symbols and the traditions and rituals of Christianity, the churches, the hymns, the songs. So I like that.
The thing that's hard about that, though, is I like all of that stuff too. Don't get me wrong, but it's very blended in with pre-Christian stuff. It's not purely born out of Christianity. I mean,
but that's why I like them more. Because it makes it more interesting.
I know. I just don't want to make it sound like everything just came out of the Bible. Like the Bible doesn't tell us when Jesus was born. I know Christians don't agree with this all the time, but I don't think the Bible tells us when Jesus was born. I know there's a lot of debate there, but that's my.
Anyways, we don't want to get to that though. Yes. Yeah, but I agree. I agree with Shana. Ellie, thank you so much for the membership gift. Sticky Beans with a super chat saying, and for all times in exile, purposely rules against and where was the beginning of this conversation? Purposely rules against Jews were made only for Jews that contradict the Torah, like against circumcision. So Jews had to act underground to not get executed. Is this under the British mandate, or are you talking about Romans again?
Yeah, this sounds like this is a tough one because I think there's some typos here that are throwing me off. But it says even at all and for all times in exile. So I think he's really I think Stegan is talking about the diaspora as well. So basically, when Jews would be in places with other laws, with other legal systems, Jews were made. The purposely rules against Jews were made only for Jews that contradict the Torah. Okay, so basically saying, all right, when Jews in the diaspora were in places where there were specific anti-biblical laws made specifically for Jews, like against circumcision. So Jews had to act underground or not get executed. So yeah, and basically I think what he's saying is that there are times where Jews did violate the law, but there were laws that were specifically anti-Jewish, which is understandable.
Yes. And Ellie, thank you so much for the super chat saying in Judaism, one of the rules say to establish courts of law where people are judged by their peers, not by God or by clerics. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the super chats and the interesting information. I do want to get to this because we have to keep an eye on what's happening with this Abdul El Sayed guy. So let me see. So Abdul is talking about President Trump here. So let's listen to this and get your takes on it.
And I just want to point to two issues right now that we're dealing with. Number one, as hard as he tries, this guy wants to pretend like he never met Donald Trump. I don't know who that is. Who's that?
Wait, who is he
And Donald
referring
Trump.
to? What?
I think he's talking about his opponent. My guess he's talking about Mike Rogers. his
Oh,
opponent.
oh, okay.
Mike
okay.
Rogers.
I
Yeah,
see.
Mike Rogers, yes.
I don't know who that is. Who's that? And Donald Trump, because he can't resist the red meat, can't seem to keep my name out of his mouth. Habibi, if you can't say the name, don't say the name.
My God, it sounds so much like Obama.
Abdul. We gotta say it like that, man. It's creepy. Abdul. Holds on to the L a little too long. Oh, Abdul. You know, Natalie's gonna show him this clip and he's gonna be so mad. Abdul. Try Abdul Rahman.
I know this works. I know it doesn't make it. This works.
I
This
wish he
really works.
wasn't. I wish he wasn't charming, but he is, unfortunately.
Did
and-
you did you find that entertaining?
No,
No.
or just say,
Not
I mean,
for us.
yeah. So basically, he's preening, and I'm not amused at all. But I mean, he's playing to his audience.
I mean, I would give him credit. I would give him more credit if it was entertaining. I didn't find it entertaining personally. That's why I was asking.
No, but I think I think that he is showing a kind of a comedian's sense of performance here, that the comedy does not work on me. Okay, but it's working on his audience, and it's something that a lot of politicians can't do.
Right.
They don't have that register, right? So this is like what so it's not my kind of comedy, but people it's not just that people seem to be amused by it, but you can see in his body language there's a sort of confidence in telling these kind of jokes that I think the audience is responding to, and many politicians would not be able to do that.
I think this only works with the affluent white women in the counties that he won in Michigan. I don't think it plays outside of that audience.
Yeah. That's his base. He's playing to his base.
Yeah, I would agree. It doesn't necessarily play outside of his audience. Well, I think it'll play a little bit outside of his audience because he is doing the Obama thing, and that's going to get some people who have Obama nostalgia. So I think it'll play a little bit outside of his audience. I don't think it only plays to that. But I do think, I unfortunately, I do think he's charming as somebody who's like, I think a lot of people around me in my local environment would really like him. Unfortunately, I don't like saying that, but as a refugee from the white affluent community, I think a lot of people would find him charismatic and charming. He plays up the Obama vibe. He is, he's sophisticated in the way that he's trendy, in the way that he dresses. He doesn't come, Timu Obama, exactly what he is. Timu Obama.
Obama the second.
No, so I think I'm not really seeing the Obama comparison. I mean, maybe there is something in the way that he's talking, but I think that Obama was actually quite good at reaching out across, and like talking to conservatives, talking to independents in a way that I think that this is more, to me, he's doing more. I mean, maybe in other like in the Jesse Waters interview, he was doing more of that. But here, I feel like he's preening, right? And he's doing it for the base. So I'm not seeing Obama so much in this performance, but maybe I'm wrong.
That's a good point. He is doing a little, I mean, mostly in his speaking pattern and kind of the way he presents himself generally. But I think in terms of like this exact speech or talk that he gave, he also is like talking about how much Trump is obsessed with him, which I do think is a clever play, because it means like it's because of for the Trump haters or the like TDS folks. It's a great way to use Trump kind of in a backward sort of way. I'm not describing it well, but
I do want to point out though that Abdul, Obama, and Mandami, they somebody in the chat pointed this out earlier. They all come from the same farm. They have the same training, the same educational background, the same affluent funding networks between all three of them. That's why people draw those comparisons, because they are similar because of their background, their education, their training all came from the same place.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think that while that's true, when Obama was training, those institutions were ideologically different, and the expectations of them were ideologically different. So I think that there is still quite a bit of daylight ideologically from at least what Obama was selling. Like, we don't know what's in his heart, but at least what he was selling versus Mamdani and El Sayed. I think that there is. So yeah, while you can say the pedigree is similar, and I don't dispute that, Elisa, I think you're right about that, I still see that there is a difference in ideology that is still quite stark. Not to say that I was very disappointed by Obama. So
I don't see any difference personally. Can you explain that more? Because as far as I can tell, like, their ideology is pretty much identical from my point of view.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think that Obama was really pursued socialism. You can even look at the example of healthcare, right? Like, healthcare was sort of a monstrosity, but it was definitely like a policy that was not the sort of pet policy of the left, right? It was not single payer. That's
exactly what he was arguing for. Obama was arguing for that. Abdullah is arguing for single payer now, just like Obama was arguing for it in 2010.
No, he wasn't arguing. He wasn't arguing for single payer. And maybe he wanted single payer, but he was arguing for what he called the public option. And he also said, like, I want the Congress to figure it out. Right. So, like, it was called Obamacare, and it was largely used as a sort of a political pejorative against Obama. I don't really want to defend Obama, because I'm just like, I don't like Obama, so I don't really want to be in the position of defending Obama. But I will say that, to me, there is a difference ideologically here. These guys are much more they're much more leaning into their sort of left-wing bona fides. I think in the case of Mamdani, he's probably doing it more than El Sayed, but still, I think that they both coming from sort of like more explicitly socialist. That wasn't possible in Obama's day, right? So maybe this is more representative of who Obama really is. I can't say.
I think so, because Obama he had to obfuscate it more. I think he had to hide it better.
Yeah, so perhaps. But I think if Obama came out saying I'm a socialist, he would not have been successful.
Right.
I still think there's sort of limits to, like the electoral success of socialism. But anyway, so that what I'm saying is, speaking as a sort of a normie Democrat, right? Mm-hmm. I myself regard myself, I thought of myself as an anti-communist, pro-Israel Democrat. And that was not a weird thing. Mm-hmm. It was not a weird thing to be
that used to be normal back in the, before the 2010s. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And while I didn't like a lot of what Obama did on Israel in particular, okay, I did not get the sense, right, at least when he's coming up, when he was emerging as that he was anti-Israel and pro-communism. I cannot say the same thing for El Sayed and for Mamdani. I just cannot say the same thing. So for me, I do feel that there is a stark difference.
I mean, I just think this is classic goalpost moving, not on our parts, but I mean on the part of the Democrats and part of the socialists. Is I think Obama was kind of a gateway drug to El Sayed and Mamdani.
Shana, why is your camera showing the side of your table?
Oh, because it got knocked over when I put my drink down. That's why.
Okay. There. Okay. Okay. Wait, we got to Amir. Thank you so much for the membership gift. I appreciate you always supporting us. That's very sweet. Here's another video from Abdul. You guys want to respond to this one? He's talking about the tariffs, President Trump's tariffs.
$3,200 is what we already pay because of the tariffs. And now he's slapping another 50% tariff up on top of that. Who do you think pays for a tariff? Now, Donald Trump doesn't understand economics. I get you get money from daddy, become a Nepo baby, and then all of a sudden you think you're some kind of master.
You're one to fucking talk. How many successful real estate empires have you built in your life, you slimy motherfucker?
Okay. Okay. I find it interesting how the left has turned into anti-tariff. Wasn't the whole protectionism a leftist thing? That I don't understand. The only way, the leftists used to love tariffs. Trump had to become pro-tariff for the leftists to become anti-tariff. Okay.
Well, there used to be just more nuance between the left and the right, but yeah, it was generally the Democratic Party and the Democrat Party and the left that were more heavily associated with tariffs, at least for the last 50 years. However, they hate sovereignty and they hate independence and they hate America. So if tariffs are being used strategically to defend any of those things, I would argue that's, of course, they're against them. Also, a lot of the former leftist people or lefty people move to the right on several issues, and also it gets complicated depending on how you define left and right.
I don't think President Trump used tariffs strategically, though. I do agree with tariffs only in two cases. One is when there is a national security threat, and those should be very, very limited, and that's one. And two, when you're using tariffs to effectively get the other countries to remove their tariffs on you, right? Those are the only situations, and I don't think President Trump used it in such a way that would cause either of those. And now it backfired anyway. So he's actually, it ended up being against the Constitution, and he's paying anything that was received from the tariffs. He's now paying it back.
Armin, I
disagree too.
I disagree.
I know you two would disagree because I'm a more free market kind of guy than you guys are. I don't like the government involvement in deciding trade at that level. So I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this, but I don't like tariffs.
Armin, can you put me on the other side of Shauna now?
Yes. Okay, Sid is with me on this one.
I'm a free market guy.
Let me tell you why I disagree, though, because protective tariffs go hand in hand with reindustrialization. We are in the middle of rebuilding our industrial base here, and protective tariffs go hand in hand with that economically, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, the tariffs they do work. They worked under McKinley. They worked under
You have to show that. You have to, yeah.
Second of all, they didn't backfire, and third of all, Trump is still in the middle of negotiations. These negotiations are ongoing. Just because Carney is having a bitch fit right now doesn't mean he's not going to come back to renegotiate eventually. Or maybe he doesn't, in which case, fuck him. Either way.
He paid the countries back. What do you mean he didn't backfire? All the tariff money has been paid back. The countries get paid back and more. Yeah, they get paid them back because the US.
That's what the judge ruled, but they didn't actually pay.
They were paid back. They all got paid back. Everything. Go look it up. Everybody was paid back. So it did backfire massively. So after the court decided that this is illegal, the Trump administration had to go pay everyone back. They already got their money. People are saying, no, this is what's happened.
Sweet Sarah just wants us to fight. I actually have a completely different take on this, which is that I think when it comes to tariffs, I generally would agree with Armin's strategy. I think I'm a little bit too. I actually think this lineup is probably perfect, from the most protectionist to the least protectionist. I actually think that part of this was, and this is going to sound very 5D chessy, but I have researched it, and there are economic thinkers who agree with me. I think that the tariffs, like the grand tariff, like I'm going to tariff everything to the moon and back. I actually think that was a strategy to get exposure to where there's weak industries and where our fault lines are. I actually think it was to build the grand tariff strategy was actually to build a map to show where there's infrastructure weakness, and then it became targeted tariffs over time. I don't think that it's because he lost in the courts. I think he knew he was going to lose in the courts, but he just was buying time to expose this map. And now where there's the most fault lines for our national sovereignty and our national security, and where we can also rebuild industrially, is now that can show where that tariff map basically is where things are kind of getting built, and he was always going to scale back the tariffs. That's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, that's the other thing about protective tariffs. They're meant to be temporary.
Let me also say, yes, here's the thing, guys. Government sucks at deciding which industries within your country should get more resources and which ones should get less. If you want to protect your industries, just allow them to compete internationally, and investments and resources will flow towards the industries that you have that are more naturally internationally competitive. And if you just allow global trade to do its thing, then if some of your industries fail, that's a good thing, because it's naturally reallocating wealth and investments from the industries when you're in your country that you're less internationally competitive towards the industries within your country that you are more internationally competitive. And the net job creation out of this will be positive. So the jobs created from this, letting this naturally happen, will always be higher than the jobs lost. Because from every business and industry that shuts down because it wasn't internationally competitive, the few industries that you focus on that are internationally competitive will produce 100,000 times more jobs in those areas that you're focusing on, because that's your expertise within this nation, compared to the jobs that were lost. So government picking and choosing, they're like, oh my God, this is dying because international trade, let me protect it. This slows down growth, because instead of you should move away from, if that is not naturally doing its thing, you should move away from that and move towards those areas where you're out competing everyone else. And only the market will be able to decide this from you. No person, but no politician, no economist, no finance guy, nobody will be able to figure this out for you. You just have to let the Darwinian model of the free market decide this for you. This has been proven over and over and over and over again. If you just let the market do its thing.
Can I make a free market argument then for what's happening? Okay, this is I'm just throwing this out there. So one of the things though that's happening right now, right, is we are having fuel shortages, arguably, and in order to build the databases that we need, which you agree are a sovereignty issue, our national security issue, we are also moving things back into the country and rebuilding infrastructure because of the fuel losses that we have. For example, even just on a micro level, I keep going back because it's a very easy example. We have a lot of apple farms in Washington, and they're usually processed in California. California is having high taxes on top of the fact that there's a lot of fuel costs being wasted sending the apples down for processing. So they're now building a plant in an old factory to process the apples where the apples are grown, and that's going to bring back not bring back jobs, but that's bringing jobs to that environment. So and it's also bringing new jobs because they're using robotics and AI and stuff to help with certain aspects. So that would be an argument. I guess a free market argument is because of the fuel costs. Because of AI, everybody wants this fuel and these these energy costs, and so I guess that would be my best free market argument. I know that that's a lot of stuff, but
well, let me make my protective argument, because we're running out of time. Let me make this protective argument, because even if we don't agree, I need you to understand this. Let's use medicine as an example, right? So, in order for a country to be truly sovereign, that country needs to be able to feed and clothe and care for itself, right? If America is dependent, as it is at this moment in time, on China, for example, for getting our medicine and medical supplies, anytime that we have a conflict or a dispute with China, they can always threaten that the access to medical supplies if we're not making it here. Right. And the problem with relying on the invisible hand of the free market is that you are assuming that somebody is going to take it upon themselves to just get the funding that they need and to build the industry that is needed in order to make medicine here in America, right? The government does have a responsibility, in my view, and a duty to make sure that everything the nation needs to function properly, that it's made here, that it cannot be threatened overseas by any country that we might have a dispute with.
So Elisa, that philosophy has been tried many times and it failed every single time.
That's
right?
Hamiltonian economics. That's what built the industry in America in the first place.
Elisa, we have a short amount of time and Sid hasn't gotten in a single word in, right? So let me actually respond to what you just said, because I didn't interrupt you, so I don't know why you're interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So the United States was founded based on many competing ideas, and every time you mention that, it doesn't mean that it was the best way to grow. Like you haven't done A/B testing on every single time yet. There were different policies, and there were many founding fathers who disagreed with that, and there was always a competing idea. So saying that they did this, nobody is showing that it would have grown faster if they did something else. So it's not like in a lab that you could do A/B testing. Those are anecdotal evidence. Empirical evidence shows that this fails every time. And I do agree that too much reliance on China is bad. China is a security threat to the United States. The solution to that is not to put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify more to more nation states, as friendshoring. You don't need to bring everything onshore, but you shouldn't be too reliant on China as well, right? You have to find alternatives to China. You have to be your economy should be based on so many countries. If you're too reliant on a country that is your adversary, yes, I agree with that. That's a problem that you need to solve. But trying to be self-reliant is not just protectionism. That is a key to economic disaster. That has been demonstrated, empirically been demonstrated, that that's the wrong thing to do. But also to Shana, I don't know exactly what you said, but I do agree exceptions that if it's about national security, like I said, if you could demonstrate that for national security, something needs to be made in U.S. soil, not just for economic reasons, but for national security reasons, those are one of the two exceptions that I agreed with tariffs, right? But you have to be careful that we don't just go like this is national security, that's national security, that's national. Like we just have to don't go willy-nilly with everything, calling everything a national security issue. Sid, get in, because sorry.
No, I mean, I don't really need to say too much here. I mean, I basically agree with you, Armin. I am not sort of in principle opposed to tariffs, okay, but I do think that these are edge cases, and there has to be a good reason. And what I observed with the administration in its sort of application of tariffs is it felt very arbitrary, and when tariffs are applied arbitrarily, they hurt us. Okay, that's the reason. So yes, I mean, I am convincible you can make the case for certain tariffs under certain conditions when it's good for America. If it's good for America, I'm on board. I'm fundamentally on board. I just wasn't convinced. I don't think that they made the case that just some of it was just like, oh, we're going to throw 50% on this and that, and on this country and that country. And then, oh, tomorrow, actually, we're not going to do that. It felt to me very, very arbitrary and very impulsive. And that hurts us. Like, if that's the case, okay, if it's the case that tariffs are applied not strategically, but sort of punitively and arbitrarily, we end up paying the price for that. So. That's it.
Yeah, so we have 4 comments that we need to read. This is how you do tariffs, guys. You say, like, if you have a tariff on us, we will match it exactly. That's how you do tariffs, okay? Other than the security ones. Like Canada, you have 50% tariff on us. In fact, we'll double it, okay? Anybody, like, this is the best rule. Whoever has a tariff on United States goods, we'll take the number, we'll double it, and we will have a tariff on you. You want us to remove our tariff? Remove your tariff. This is how you do tariffs.
That's what he was doing. That's exactly what Trump has been doing.
If he was doing that, I would love it. He wasn't doing that. It was all over the place.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
It was all over the place. I have to side with the free marketers.
Free market.
On this one.
All right. It needs to be predictable. You need to make it so, like, you know what you need to make it so that the other countries know what exactly they need to do to get the tariff removed. Justin, thank you so much for the super chat, saying, I've never understand this leftist nonsense about Trump started with $1 million. Anyone that actually knows anything about finance knows that it's much easier to lose $1 million than make $1 million. So, Justin, actually, it's actually worse than that, because $1 million is nothing. Okay, if you started with $1 million and you're a billionaire, that is really impressive. $1 million is nothing in the world of finance. It's absolutely nothing. It's pocket change. People be like, oh my God, you got $1 million. $1 million is nothing.
I do believe that Trump had an inheritance from his dad, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was big, but look, I think there's a, okay, sorry. You want to say something on?
No, go ahead. You go ahead. But we
have
only a few more.
Yes. So I want to say this, like, I think there's some I think that Trump's business record is maybe questionable. There's certain things that, like, totally seem like ridiculous, like Trump Steaks or Trump University or whatever, right? But what I can say is that, and I do believe that he did start with a pretty sizable inheritance. But what I can say is, even if you look at people who start with a sizable inheritance, what is actually extremely rare is for you to turn your own name into a global brand. And he did this before he was ever president. That's actually extremely difficult to do. Okay. So whatever you can say about his business as a sort of a media personality, as a communicator, he is like top tier Hall of Fame.
Okay. Oh my God, we got another super chat. We have to, like, Sid, we have only 2 more minutes. Okay, so what is this? Can you read this like in 5 seconds? Or
Sauron scam Danny, not anti-Israel commie. Okay. I don't know who he's talking to. I totally think.
Okay, and Amu Kapi is saying 5 minutes, Armin. Thank you so much. We're gonna go soon. And Sassy is saying scouts allow tariffs under Section 301 and Section 232, which target specific products deemed to impair national security and address unfair trade practices. FYI, yes, I know the reason they gave is national security. I just don't know if they were actually a national security issue. If you can show me that they are a national security issue, then fair. But I think, like, people are overusing that excuse when it's not justified. Guys, make sure that we are going to go now, but in 1 hour we're going to have our group discussion. The link to our group is in the description. It's in the QR code in the top left. We are going to broadcast it on Liberty Politics, so make sure you subscribe to Liberty Politics and hit the bell notification so you don't miss that. If you want to come join our group calls, we have group calls every day, so don't check the link or the QR code to join that. Elisa's channel is at 154 subscribers. The link.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
The link to we're figuring out how to make sure she can go live on her channel as well. The link to her channel is in the description, so don't miss that. And we are about to go. Yes. Okay. So yes. Thank you, guys, everybody. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification, guys. The like have a huge influence in growing the channel, so don't forget that. And we'll see you guys in 1 hour. And until then, I'm Israel Chai, Slava Ukraine, Cuba Libre, Taiwan GIO, long live America. جاوید شاه پاینده ایران.
Whew.